The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. Well, this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Al. And of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into the sports bar. Rochester's only local sports talk show. It's Danger and Battaglia. We appreciate you checking us out if you're listening locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app. You've got us on YouTube as well, our channel, The Fan Rochester. Like, subscribe while you're there. We stream every afternoon from 3 until 6 on Twitch as well at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
I'm trying to weigh out here. Did we really have an issue with the heat, or am I just super soft? Now, here's the fact, Danger. That thermostat is busted.
Hasn't worked since
Hasn't worked.
late summer.
Yeah.
Thermostat or the thermometer in studio today says
64.
that's the temperature of my house while I'm sleeping at night.
Ooh, I like it cooler than that.
You go cooler than 64.
Well, the executive producer will put it at 62. I'll go 60, but I'm careful. I shouldn't admit that on the air.
I can't call you soft if you're sleeping in a 60 degree house. You too can dress like a New England fisherman in our studio, like I have today, and feel nice and cozy and toasty warm. I don't know what the Dandalorian's problem is.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Danger, that as soon as we started squawking, all of a sudden, the landlord, let's turn the heat up here a little bit in the building. Honestly, because I can't control the heat. The thermostat is busted here.
That's right.
I don't even know what it is. So, that is what I'm telling you, is that all of a sudden this article appears in the RBJ who the actual landlord is, and then
Kevin O, thank you for reporting on that.
Thank you, Kevin O.
Things have gotten moving.
You brought us heat.
Things have gotten moving here.
Because if floors 4 and 5 of our building are vacant, hey, maybe the guys on 95.7 talking about the lack of heat isn't good for business.
I like that we're progressing. We're getting better every day. And just like the team that we spend the majority of our time talking about on this show, getting better every day. We're trying to be contenders here, okay? We're trying to win a championship. We have a standard of excellence. And I want to address off the top before we lay out who's stopping by the sports bar. An incident from late in the show yesterday. This occurred during happy hour. A first. It's never happened in the history of the sports bar. A caller so out of line with such a bad call left us with no choice but to ban this caller from the airwaves of this fine radio station.
You made the executive decision, which you have the power to do here on the show.
Either of us do.
I thought maybe a suspension, but you immediately we went right to ban.
I feel like we've warned Luke in the past. Luke from Rochester, who's called into the show over the course of our almost 9 years on the air, that we've been a show here on the Fan Rochester and
9 times.
All of its previous iterations. The same thing every time with this guy. The same thing every time. And I'm sure if we were to meet Luke in person, Luke would be fine. I'd be fine with Luke. Buy Luke a beer or whatever he wants to drink, and have a conversation about sports. But the problem is, inevitably, it always goes to fire the coach. And yesterday's call, man, yesterday felt good. It was a victory Monday. We were talking about all the things that the Bills did right against the Ravens. The vibes are up.
Yeah.
Adam and Irondequoit calls in. Whenever Adam and Irondequoit calls in, we're having a good day.
You got by a team that you had the toughest matchup against of all these remaining teams. Not that Kansas City isn't going to be one, but holy cow, you were able to beat a team you lost to 35-10 earlier in the season. And it's a holiday, and yes, we're all a little sleep-deprived, and we're a little groggy, but man, it feels good.
I was in a great mood yesterday. Great mood. And then this happened during happy hour.
Luke in Rochester. Welcome, Luke.
Hey guys, I like your thinking today. Listen, Gary kind of made me realize that the Bills are really a good team, and you guys sort of went off and talked about possible trade. I think it could happen. However, last night was really concerning for me. Joe Brady had 36 rushing attempts, 22 passing attempts. Bills could have blown the Ravens out in the second half when they received the kickoff where they were up by 11. If they actually passed the ball. You got Tony Romo, as the game was tightening, talking about how the ball should be in Josh Allen's hands at least 2 out of the 3 downs. And he's repeating it several times. And it's not the first game they said that involving the Bills. I think the last time they played Kansas City might have been the other time. But I can't wait for Brady to leave, and he should take McDermott.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh, Luke. Okay, Luke.
Time out.
No,
Luke.
Luke, you've got to be. Oh,
Luke just hates every coach.
Okay.
If it's not McDermott, it's Brady, Luke? Are you out of your mind, dude? If we're lucky, we have him as an offensive coordinator again next year because he's going to be a head coach in the NFL. And he's going to be a head coach in the NFL because he knows when to put his foot on the gas and he knows when to take it off. And he's working hand in hand with the head coach who you've called on this show for to be fired multiple times, and a lot of times for no reason other than you just don't like the guy. Luke, come on. Come on, man. We're better than that. This show is better than that. You need to be better than that. It's a Victory Monday, and you want to see, you can't wait for Joe Brady to leave? Luke, banned!
whoa.
Banned! You're done. I'm executive powers in the sports bar. Luke has been banned from the show. You heard me.
Wow.
And Luke, I don't know what's going on in your life, buddy. I hope you're okay. But to call up on a Victory Monday and say, I can't wait for Joe Brady to leave, you're banned.
I've heard this, like, well, Brady's game plan. Can we review the 2 drives? Because everybody's thinking double dip. Hand off to Cook with the 6-man front. You only get the 1 yard. Pass to Dalton. Kincaid needs to catch that ball.
Yes.
It's an execution thing on that drive. And then the third is blown up because, well, guys got through. Again, execution drop. Well, why is Brady calling, the screen to Dawson Knox? Timeout. That was a Josh Allen check.
I'm stunned. I'm speechless. He's called in so many times in the past, we need to fire Sean McDermott. Like, I've been critical of Sean McDermott. You've been critical of Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott is not being fired, and Joe Brady, we shouldn't be calling up on a Victory Monday saying, I can't wait for Joe Brady to not be here anymore. Are you out of your freaking mind? Luke, be better.
Okay, I'm going to raise my hand here. Mike Danger, hi, I'm the call screener of the show. What do I tell somebody who has been banned? Wow, here's the list. Luke from Rochester.
That's right.
Banned.
That's right. Congratulations,
Luke, you can still listen. You're welcome to listen. You're just not going to get on the air.
We appreciate it, Luke. You are on the list, 1 of 1. That is the worst call we have taken in the, how many years have we been on the air?
This is going to be coming up on year number 9.
We're coming up on year number 9.
9 times.
That is the worst call we have taken in the history of the sports bar. Luke, you're banned. And with that, we've set a new bar, new standard for excellence. Rome used to say it all the time on his show. More of me and less of you is a good thing for the show, right? He would say it all the time because too often people would, grab a vine and try to take it in the direction they want it to go. And it's like, no. trust us. We come in here as prepared as we can be every single day. We know who we're going to talk to and what we're going to talk about. What we're not going to do is give you free reign to come on the show and say things on a Victory Monday like, I can't wait for Joe Brady to leave. It's a terrible take. It's a terrible call. You're banned. You're done. A new standard of excellence has been set in the sports bar with this banning.
I would listen to the how did Baltimore adjust? How did the Bills not put up more than 6 points in the second half? Those are all fair conversations.
Yes.
But to ask for a different offensive coordinator?
I can't wait for Joe Brady to be out of here. I can't wait for Joe Brady to be out of here after the Bills beat the Ravens at home in the divisional round to advance to the AFC Championship and cap off a season where they went undefeated at home. I can't wait for Joe Brady to leave. You're banned. You're banned. And if you're listening and you're wondering, should I call the sports bar at 866-4326? Just know, if you have something to add to what Gino and I are talking about, you hear us on a topic and you have something that we maybe aren't thinking of or something that you have thought of that you would like to add to the conversation, we will listen to you. We're not afraid to put people on the air. We will put you on the air. In fact, we encourage it. We want you to be a part of the conversation. I'll even say we're better when you are adding something to the conversation. But if your contribution is going to be that, don't waste our time. Don't waste your time. Luke is banned. Sorry, Luke. Sorry to make you the example. But this team could win the Super Bowl. Could be a championship team. We got to be a championship team here in the sports bar, Gino.
Like, it used to be you can go listen to this or that show and run. No,
That's
right. This is it, folks.
That's right.
And I don't serve the person, and you don't serve the person who calls in. We're serving the audience.
That's right. I hope everyone listening understands we're not trying to be jerks. We're not. Gino is not one-upping you in this instance. Trust me, he's not. This is just us saying maybe it's more me than it is you, Gino, but that set me off so much yesterday. It ruined my mood. I was angry after that. Like, how could somebody be so upset? I mean, he wasn't upset at first, and then inevitably he gets to this point where it's like, I can't wait for him to leave. Go take that energy to the Buffalo Sabres when we're talking about the Sabres. Not the team that's on the precipice of making it to their first Super Bowl since the 90s. What are we doing? Anyways, that wanted to address that off the top. We've got a great show for you today, and we do encourage you, if you dare, to call on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. 866-4FAN is the phone number. 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, ER, goodsmokebbq.com. Look, many of our regulars who call up are great, well thought out. They have thoughts. They have takes. They're not trying to push their own agenda. They're steering it the direction that we're going. You're a great enhancement. We love that. Yesterday was awesome. Adam in Irondequoit, Tim in San Diego, Brad in Rochester. Great calls.
Mm-hmm.
Luke, hate to make you the example. That was the worst call that we've taken on the air on this show in the last almost 9 years.
Now, look, you believe in second chances. I believe in second chances. We're not Major League Baseball. This isn't baseball with Pete Rose. I'm going to say this. Luke, if you want to have the conversation off air and apply for reinstatement, I will listen to that. You have to convince Mike Danger for that, too, if you want to get back on the air.
I may not be as forgiving, but we'll see.
Well, we have to be better than Fire the Coach Radio. That is the lowest common denominator.
It's just lazy.
We're not. If you want to be that miserable, go cheer for the Sabres.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Go
Guys,
and
save
follow
that
that
energy,
team,
because
yeah.
honestly, even when McDermott has made mistakes this season specifically, we've been critical. Everybody was critical after the Rams loss. Everybody was critical after the Ravens blowout. That's what we're going to do. But sitting here saying, well, he needs to be fired. We're not there. And it's not happening. Not with this guy, not with his staff. They're on the precipice of the Super Bowl. We want to see people leave? I can't wait for him to leave? Horrible call. Sorry, Luke. Terrible. Now that that's out of the way, we've got a great show lined up for you here.
I think yesterday the part that you didn't play was to calm you down. We went back to the music. Which we're not allowed to play the music unless it's a Victory Monday.
Yeah, we don't want to jinx anything. In fact, a little superstitious. How about we've had this guy on, even though he's a fantasy football expert, he's Bills Mafia, and we won't let him off the air because he's been with us throughout the season. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network stops by before we get to happy hour later on this afternoon.
Listen, if we have a regular in the sports bar who has the credentials NFL Network, yes, and he's one of us, absolutely come on in. I wasn't here for that segment. How is he doing? Because he's in Los Angeles. Last I talked to him, he was out of the range there just a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's okay. Admittedly, I didn't really ask him how he's doing with the wildfires last week while you were out. But we did talk a lot of Bills. And I'll tell you this, one of the things I'm going to find out from Florida or have him explain, because he was going back and forth about this today on X, I noticed, and I love this debating point because it's too late to say that this could sway the MVP vote one way or the other. The votes have been cast. It's probably going to be Lamar. He was AP first team All-Pro, and which means Allen will play second fiddle. But if you want to say that the voters got it wrong, all you have to do is look at the Bills' defensive game plan against the Ravens, because their defensive game plan was to put it in Lamar's hands.
We're not going to let Derrick Henry beat us. We're going to sell out. This is according to Ty Dunn. This was the game plan, which shouldn't surprise anybody.
No.
And also, I did point this out. You didn't have Zay Flowers.
We're going to let him fall on his face.
Yeah.
We're going to let him make mistakes. We believe we can pressure him into mistakes. Our quarterback is cool. He's collected. You can come after him. He's not going to make the mistakes your quarterback is going to make. And to me, that's why they're going to get it wrong when they name him the MVP. It should be Josh Allen.
Well, when does this take place? It takes place the night before the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So can you imagine a world? And, hey, for the one Kansas City fan that's actually listening to, you could say the same thing. Hey, my quarterback had only one loss this season. Okay, fine, whatever it is. But Lamar will win his third MVP, and Josh Allen, we'd all like to think, will be actually playing in the game the next day that matters.
The only thing they could key on as a defense for Baltimore, the only thing they really needed to key on was Josh Allen. How do we stop Josh Allen? How do we prevent that guy? And Josh Allen didn't really throw the ball downfield. He made a couple plays with the legs close to the goal line, got a couple of touchdowns, but the Bills' defensive game plan was, we want Lamar with the ball in his hands. I love that. I love that the MVP was who they wanted to. He's going to beat himself.
This is going to follow him until he actually breaks through. Now, a lot of people are pointing out, to his credit, hey, he bounced back, and so did that team in the second half. Now, the Andrews fumble really had nothing to do with, but that's the margin in postseason football.
Yep.
You can't afford to give away 2 possessions like the Ravens did. 3 in total with Andrews.
So we'll talk to Michael F. Florio right around 4:45. Before we get to Florio in the 4 o'clock hour, Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone stops by. Now, this is a weekend where they got 3 out of 6 points from this weekend, where their first three games in 3-day stretch. Lehigh Valley Friday, Saturday, and then Hershey on Sunday. We'll recap that action, including Friday night here at Blue Cross Arena, which word on the street is Leo was in rare form after Friday night's game. This was a controversial ending, and I can't wait for him to explain exactly what went down and how it went down and what might be different about the AHL here.
Yeah, and the weekend away coming up. Providence Friday, Hartford Saturday. The team is going to be home a couple times the following week. So we'll talk some Amherst hockey. First place, Rochester Americans hockey on the 4 o'clock hour.
I love that. Matt Perino joins us here in just a few from the Syracuse Post-Standard, covering the Buffalo Bills. Love our catch-up conversations with Matt Perino. He'll be stopping by here in just a couple few. You know the phone number. You can also engage with us on Elon's Twitter. That is X. We are at the Fan Rochester. Oh, now the regular on regular crime.
Oh, no.
Well, let's start with the positives first, Frank. Hey, it was great meeting y'all at Three Heads last week. A lot of fun. Enjoy watching the show in living color. Thanks for being so cordial. Frank, one of our regulars we had the chance to meet for the first time on Friday, and he was, couldn't have been cooler, and you don't have to thank us, Frank. The pleasure is all ours. Thanks for supporting the show.
Yeah, and anybody that loves the Amerks, and Frank is, I'm not sure if he still is a season ticket holder, but goes to a lot of games. If you have a question that you want to put forward, hey, ask the coach, we'll do that for you, just like Frank did a couple weeks ago.
Now, Frank wants to take credit for the Amerks being in first place.
Well, I'll let him do that.
Go ahead, Frank. Yes, it was. It was us asking about the grittiness and the toughness and the heaviness of the Amerks that prompted them to go on a massive win streak. But we appreciate you stopping out, Frank, and we'll continue to ask Coach Leone questions that you guys have for him and for this team. Dan reaching out at the Fan Rochester. Can't believe it's been 9 years of the Sports Bar. I remember listening to the first episode. We don't talk about the first episode, Dan.
No.
Happy you two are still going. I've been a loyal listener the last 9 years, even though I'm not able to listen to every episode. And now you knew this was going to happen. From a user named Rubber Band Mouth. Can we ban Linda from Webster?
No.
She's annoying AF.
No.
Makes me change the station.
No.
Stop. We love Linda. Linda's sweet as pie.
I just talked to her off air and said we couldn't take her call right now.
Right. And you know what? Linda, don't be discouraged. We appreciate you listening. It's one man's opinion. We know a lot of regulars have opinions on some of the callers. John from Rochester. We see it. We hear it. We'll do our best. We're here to set a standard. Hopefully we live up to that expectation and keep you informed and entertained for the next 2 hours plus here in the Sports Bar. That includes a conversation next with Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard as the team prepares for a week of practice and a trip to Kansas City in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I feel Tuesdays in the Sports Bar, it's like the final word on what we just saw. And if you still want to bask a little bit, the players aren't allowed to. We can do that, and the Ravens win. But we're looking ahead to Kansas City. And I got to ask Matt Perino, how many trips has he made now to Kansas City? I'm losing count of all these games. Yeah,
right. Matt Perino next, and we'll talk more Bills here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
You're listening. Rochester Sports Update.
Line moving for the AFC Championship. Chiefs now favored by 2 points over Buffalo. It was 1.5 yesterday. Sean McDermott wants to make this week like any other week.
I think at the end of the day, it's normal routine, normal approach. Make sure we're prepared during the week to do our jobs and do them at a high level.
Team off today. A walkthrough close to the media will be taking place tomorrow. 2 p.m. for our pregame coverage this Sunday here on The Fan. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast joining us next year. Sabres tonight. The West Coast swing continues. Next stop in Vancouver. 10 p.m. for the coverage here on The Fan. Buffalo losing yesterday in Seattle. Rochester Americans are next in action Friday night in Providence. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone next hour. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
He just continues to churn out positive yards against defenses. And while you're not maybe getting the huge chunks, this is the most efficient ball control 10-plus play drive offense in the league. So, getting him to not make a 2-yard run into a 4-yard run, I think is just as big as minimizing some of the explosives.
There's Dan Orlovsky from ESPN earlier with One Bills Live talking about Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco. We'll dig into that matchup between the Bills and the Chiefs. Coming up Sunday evening from Kansas City, Matt Perino covering the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard, joining us now as he does every Tuesday at this time. Buddy, man, this has been a fun, wild ride. I'd love for it to continue for another few weeks. And we look back at what happened Sunday night. I find it really fascinating as we learn a little bit more about what led to the Bills getting that win, that it was actually the Bills' defensive game plan to keep the ball in the hands of the presumptive MVP.
Well, first off, let me say I'm going to tread lightly today. I don't want to be getting banned from any shows in Rochester. It's tough. It's tough sledding out there for anybody that is on the other side of the line, I'm hearing. So I'm just going to be careful today. I don't want to make anybody upset.
All you have to worry about is not coming in here and saying that Joe Brady, you can't wait for Joe Brady to no longer be a part of the organization. I mean, I'm not wrong here, Matt. Don't make me feel guilty for banning Luke from Rochester.
No, I just know that you run a tight ship, and I like to keep sailing along with both of you.
The expectations are high.
I like that. When it comes to the game plan this past week, it makes sense to, the way that game played out the first time around in week 4, to be eliminated in that way to what's the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I think the fact that they wanted to try to limit Derrick Henry, so much was being made about that performance, and it was a great performance. I know they were down a couple of key pieces. Henry had played 2 games in Orchard Park before that, both in Tennessee, and he was averaging somewhere around 3.2 yards a carry in those games. So he had never really come into Buffalo and had this explosive game, and he still averaged double that, 5.5 per carry. But it was more so than the game plan and the way that it played out. Some of the decision-making by Todd Monken in that game, I've been very critical on. I posted a clip. Their second down play after Henry gets stopped. So to your point, stopping Henry on first down changed the math in Monken's head for how to approach the next couple downs. Conventional wisdom would say, go run it again 3 more times. You're inside the 5-yard line. But he sends Lamar Jackson back to pass. Ronnie Staley, their all-pro left tackle, is reported eligible, and he's running a pattern on the play. And Lamar Jackson gets sacked, and then the next play is an incompletion, and they have to settle for a field goal. It's like those little moments in the game. Also, Matt Milano, it's funny because I think a lot of Ravens fans were poking fun at the Bills for advocating for the fact that Milano was going to be a difference maker. And that's exactly what he was in so many different little ways. If he doesn't tip that pass on the 2-point conversion attempt and they score that there, they're kicking an extra point on that final touchdown drive to win the game. And so, or at least put themselves in a lead late in the game. And then Allen obviously gets it back. But so many little moments, the Bills made plays not to lose the game, and sometimes you have to do that. Whereas I think that the Ravens conversely made so many losing plays in that game.
Matt, I might get in trouble for saying this, but I took note that when the locker room kind of opened on Sunday night, like a lot of the guys that you would go to had already gone out. It's almost like, hey, this is nice, but not hearing from Dawkins or Oliver or Rousseau or a lot of these players, Matt, that normally you would go to for a postgame, it just kind of told me one thing. Hey, this is nice, but we're already moving on to Kansas City here.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part about that game and the way that it was billed, rightfully so, was this game of the year, and it felt so, I don't know, disappointing that we were getting that in the divisional round, but the way that is because Kansas City is still the team that you have to beat, and you have to go on the road to do it. So I don't think – it's funny, like the celebration for a win like that, you should have felt more, right, in the room. Yeah. And there was some chest puffed out a little bit when we talked to Ed Oliver. They had heard the noise during the week, and, it was actually my question to McDermott that kind of raised some eyebrows late in the week about I was just kind of relaying the message. Everything that I read and heard on the national scene throughout the week was about the fact that the Ravens run out 7+ 300-pounders in a lot of their packages. And one of the criticisms of the Bills and the way that they're made, their roster, are they big enough to not get bullied by that Ravens team that bullied the Steelers the week before? And that's the Steelers. I mean, they have Cam Hayward in the middle of their defense, one of the biggest defensive tackles, one of the most athletic defensive tackles. So I thought it was a fair question. And the way McDermott answered it and the way that they kind of responded after the game tells you that they've heard all the noise. And they say two things. They say, one, we don't listen to the outside noise. But then they also say, we heard the messages. And that's a big thing. That's part of what makes sports so great is like the questions and then whether or not you're able to answer those questions. And the Bills answered it in a huge way. And I think Lamar, more than anything, lived up to the narrative, fair or not, that he makes mistakes in big games. He made multiple mistakes, including that play I referenced earlier, which was a sack on second down. You cannot take a sack in the red zone in that spot.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, our guest in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. And to your point about them kind of having their satellite up, their antenna up, and they're listening to what's being said while they're saying that they're not listening to what's being said. Hey, everybody knows they're going to go into this game as an underdog. The line is moving more in favor of Kansas City here as the week goes on. That's exactly, I think, where we want to be, is it not?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think if you ask Sean McDermott off the record, he'd tell you the same exact thing. He would never actually answer that question. But if he were, I think he would tell you that. And, this is a team that it operates best when people doubt it. And, I think for as much as people are doubting it right now, there's also this sentiment that this feels like the best chance for the Bills to finally dethrone the Chiefs. And it's kind of crazy to say that in the year where they beat them already, and the Chiefs are probably have that stuck in the back of their head. But it's a team that has gone through all of these different versions of losing and all of this disappointment over the last couple of years. And they're built in a way that I think no matter how this game goes on Sunday, they're built to play from ahead, to have to come from behind. They've done that before against the Chiefs, and most of it's been in the regular season. But those are key things. And, I think this was maybe a little bit of a wake-up call for Joe Brady. I was a little bit critical of how conservative it felt in the third quarter, only because I don't think you want to get in the habit of having Lamar Jackson on the field twice as much as Josh Allen in a quarter. Like, that didn't feel like a good – but to Gene's point, I was listening to the clip yesterday, Dalton Kincaid's got to make that catch. I was very critical of that. And this, to me, is a bigger question about Dalton Kincaid in year two. I mean, we're sitting here. There's only been one game where he's had 10 or more targets. Most of the games, 7 and less. He's had probably half or more with 5 or less targets. It's just he hasn't been the instrument in this offense that I think people expected going into this season. And listen, there's no greater time than the present to maybe change the math on that. I'll be interested to see how the Bills deploy their offense against Kansas City, who knows it so well. They ran it pretty well earlier in the season. I think they're still going to be able to run the ball. But can Josh Allen affect the game in the passing game more? Do they feel like on the road they have to be a little bit more aggressive with the play calling? Or is this just going to be a mistake off where you are Sean McDermott, you're Andy Reid, and you're playing chicken? Who's going to make the mistake first? It's going to be a fun game to watch.
We know how much those mistakes are magnified in a game like what we're going to see on Sunday, like they were on last Sunday. And not a lot of people, it's not sexy to talk about something other than the two, quarterbacks or the playmakers. But, man, I love the trenches. I love looking at the matchup between offensive line and defensive line. And it was fun to do last week. I think it's going to be fun to do with this matchup as well. And I feel as if the Bills' defensive line might have a slight edge over Kansas City's offensive line going into this game, just knowing that there's been a little lack of continuity there throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, the move of Joe Thuney out to left tackle when it first happened raised my eyebrows a bit because he's an elite-level guard, and at tackle, at 32 years old, I just don't know if he has the kind of quickness and speed to deal with what you're going to deal with in this Bills defensive line. I mean, Von Miller's playing the best football he's played since 2022. Greg Rousseau has been a menace, especially in the run game. And Isaiah Pacheco has not been nearly as good since he's come back as he was earlier in the season or the player that they saw last year. Kareem Hunt's a problem at times, but I do think the Bills had some success against him. But to me, that's the matchups to watch. I mean, Juwan Taylor, he's a guy that notorious for that getting off early and potentially being a penalty threat for them at home. I really like the Bills matchup on the outside, and I think you have Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones who have put together 2 pretty good playoff games. It hasn't been the one where I think Bills fans have been waiting for, but again, no better time than the present to finally affect a game against the Chiefs. And I had Matt Verderam from Sports Illustrated on my podcast today, and he brought up the fact that the last 3 playoff games for the Bills against the Chiefs, total sacks for the Bills against the Chiefs, 3. They're averaging 1 a game. That's not enough. That's not enough. You have to affect Patrick Mahomes more. We saw last week if Nick Caserio had built that offensive line the way that he should have, or at least paid a little bit more mind to it, I think Houston wins that game last week because they just could not protect C.J. Stroud. And a couple of those sacks were on him, but it was just the floodgates were open. I mean, that drive in the red zone when he got sacked on 2nd and 3rd down, it's just like, what else do you want them to do? And then on the other side of the ball, I thought Will Anderson was destructive. Daniil Hunter had a good game. Tim Settle looked pretty good. The Bills' defensive line should be able to affect Mahomes, and I'm interested to see of all the teams left, and that includes the Eagles and the Commanders. I really think the Bills are the only team that can beat the Chiefs any given Sunday. I get that, but I picked it last week. I said whoever wins the game between the Bills and the Ravens was going to be my Super Bowl pick, and I'm sticking with it.
Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Matt, I thought DeMar Hamlin had a really nice game. They used him some different ways. He helped force that turnover that Von Miller returned. But my question is, okay, there are a couple other concerns in the secondary. How do we feel about Cole Bishop if Taylor Rapp isn't ready to go? And gosh, that was a little bit of a surprise yesterday here. Christian Benford, concussion protocol, missed that. Maybe that was the on the onside kick. So, I mean, we're not going to know anything about Benford maybe up until game time. Who knows on that? But your thoughts on Patrick Mahomes perhaps seeing a depleted secondary here?
Yeah, the Benford news is concerning, without a doubt. I mean, if he's not available, now you hearken back to last season when I think a lot of Bills fans would tell you if Benford was available, Bernard was available, the Bills maybe win that game at home against the Chiefs. So the more starters you're down, the more concerned you get. And listen, I think Taylor Rapp has been important for what they do. I think he's had a good season. But I've liked a lot of what I've seen from Cole Bishop over the last month and a half. And I think getting those reps down the stretch was critical for him. And if Rapp can't go, and he's day-to-day right now, I think it's going to be Bishop, who gets the first team reps all week just in case he can't. And that's huge. Like in the game planning meetings, and I know these guys all tell you that they approach every game like they are the starter, and that's a smart mindset to have. But it's one thing to say that and go through that practice, and then there's a whole other thing to actually get those reps in practice. And, Micah Hyde being there is huge. I know Sean said he won't play, but even Hamlin said after the game, like, the impact Hyde has had on Bishop since he's been back, like that player coach, extra voice in a room, it's huge. Like, just being able to go out there and play freely, knowing that you've done all the mental work beforehand. And then, oh by the way, you have a guy like Micah Hyde over your shoulder. That's really huge.
Do you think defensively they employ a similar strategy in dealing with Mahomes as they did with Jackson in terms of having Milano just kind of play center field or play the spy there to make sure that they can keep Mahomes contained? Or is it just he's too valuable in pass in coverage to make sure that Travis Kelce doesn't do what he inevitably does and feels like in every playoff game he's in, which is find that soft spot and always find himself open?
I think it's so fitting that if Bishop has to play, because I remember when they drafted him, Kincaid saying that in college he just locked him up over and over again. Could that be just this unbelievable story in the championship game if Bishop finds a way to make some big plays against Travis Kelce? But I don't know if you're going into it expecting that. The thing with Milano is I do think that you want to spy Mahomes with him at times, but I'd also say I don't think they're going to be as blitz happy against Kansas City as they were against Lamar. And there's this other piece too. Josh Reed tweeted this, I think earlier today. Bill Belichick was on the Inside the NFL show in October, and he said nobody spins the dial like Sean McDermott in the NFL in terms of how many different looks and defenses he tries to throw at a team. And that's, I think, what he's going to continue to do. I think you want to be very mobile with how you are sending different packages out there and what you're doing. I don't think you want Patrick Mahomes to settle into any kind of consistent attack, whether it be a spy, no spy, or man or zone.
We really didn't see much of the Bills' passing game against the Ravens, which is fine. That was the game plan. It worked out in the end. But Matt, in the temperatures this game, it looks like it's not going to be brutal in Kansas City. We'll put it that way. Just your thoughts here, because it seems like we haven't seen much of Amari Cooper, and you mentioned Dalton Kincaid. I mean, just some of these guys. Could we expect a different approach on offense this week?
You wonder if they haven't been setting this up a little bit, and it coincides with the matchups that you mentioned. Like, they were never going to be super pass heavy against that Ravens team. It was ball control was at a premium in that game, so I get it. But we've seen the highlight moments of Amari Cooper in this offense. It's in there somewhere, and I also think at 30 years old, you may only have a couple of really high volume games in a season for Cooper. I mean, he's not super young. So that's a piece of it. I also think that Keon Coleman, there's that other storyline of Coleman versus Worthy in that game. And, Worthy had the stats, I believe, in the regular season matchup, and we'll see if the Bills look to involve Coleman a little bit more. But even when they go jumbo, there's opportunities in the passing game for the tight ends, for the boundary guys. I think Khalil Shakir versus Trent McDuffie, if that ends up being the primary defender when against Shakir in this game, has the chance to be a really fun matchup to watch. And listen, Verderam said this today too. Like, these teams don't know how to play games in the playoffs that aren't close since the AFC title game a couple of years ago. And so I think it's going to be who executes and converts the best late in the fourth quarter. I think they'll probably play a close game. I think it's going to end up being maybe another classic.
And to bring it around kind of full circle, we started by talking about the ridiculous notion that I can't wait for Joe Brady to not be with the Bills anymore. I mean, talk a little bit about what you're watching when you see this Bills offense operating under Joe Brady, because to my eyes, as you watch, there's always somebody open. There's always separation and a target for Allen to hit, even if it's the underneath stuff, and it's not always downfield. There's always an open guy.
Yeah, and I think like what he does really well is that he will diagnose in game when a play works. So, for instance, this last game, an example of that is that pitch play. I think the first time he ran it, I can't remember if it was Ty Johnson or James Cook, but it worked, and then he kind of spams that play. And in this game, I don't know if that approach necessarily worked. A lot of those pitches in the second half didn't go for many yards, but they ran different looks out of it multiple times to try to see if they could continue to gain an advantage in that play. You know what was the coolest play that I saw in that game against the Ravens that I think that they can really lean into is getting Reggie Gilliam in the game with Cook and then passing out of it. And what ended up happening was it was kind of like a wheel route, but kind of like a screen pass, and Gilliam got out in front and blocked the one corner, and Cook ended up running for 10 yards. Like, you can get really creative with what you can do in the passing game with your backs because all three of your backs can catch it out of the backfield. And really, if you want to get super crazy, you could throw it to Gilliam. He's done that before too. He's got a little tight end in him. So I think he's been super creative. I think Aaron Cromer's implementation or integration into the run game and how much he has say in this offense really just helps them in the run game, but also in the short passing game.
Matt, last one for me, and we had Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, on with us yesterday, and he said he had been to Kansas City so many times he's barbecued out. Have you reached that point now?
Same. We're still going to go to Joe's, the gas station there. It's delicious, so I'm still going to go. But I am barbecued out, and honestly, I did the math. This is my 6th time to Kansas City since being on the beat, and it's fine. But like, it's just one of those cities that. And I'm sure that they probably think this way about Buffalo. Like for us, it's the barbecue. We've had it so many times. They probably have wings so many times. They've probably gone to all the big places. So they're just like, I don't know. But here's the bottom line. No matter what you think about going to the city or the cuisine or anything like that, I'll go to Kansas City every single time because, man, these two teams do not know how to play a game that isn't just electric. And with everything on the line and the chance for the Bills to go to the Super Bowl, I mean, listen, you put aside most of, if not all of the fan part of it when you start covering the team. I just think you have to. I think it happens organically. I've talked about this on my podcast and the show. But listen, for the city and what it means for the town and the people, I mean, my entire family are Bills fans. It would be really, really cool to cover a Super Bowl and to see this group go. I think that they've been through just crazy adversity over the last 5 years in so many different ways. You mentioned Hamlin a minute ago. And to see him have the game that he had against the Ravens, knowing everything that he's gone through, there's so many cool stories on this team to be able to finally break through when everybody nationally was writing them off before the season. It's a story that I wouldn't mind writing here come 5 days from now.
Yeah, it feels different, doesn't it? What do you got going on this week here at Syracuse.com that we could check out? The Shout Podcast. You busy this week, Matt? You got anything happening?
Nothing. I'm taking the week off. Just kidding. Every single day we'll have you covered with a podcast. We'll be out at One Bills Drive tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Have you covered there. We'll have some stories up at the website. It's gonna be a fun week to get ready for another heavyweight fight.
Cannot wait for Sunday. Always appreciate your time, Matt. Great stuff as always.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Matt. There's Matt Perino covering the Buffalo Bills, Syracuse.com, the Syracuse Post-Standard, and, of course, the Shout podcast where you can download wherever you get your pods.
The Benford storyline is going to be one where, and just like Ray Davis, Sean McDermott's going to put you on a need-to-know basis, and right now, you don't need to know.
I mean, based on how the Davis protocol went last week, I'm really not that concerned. Like, I have a feeling that Christian Benford, I know it's not up to him. I know it's not up to him, but these guys want to be out there. They're not going to miss time if they can avoid it. And
well, it's where we get Dr. Nick on that.
Where is Dr. Nick?
Dr. Nick. Can Christian Benford play?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
I think you said yes.
By the way, I didn't get to watch, the Eagles-Rams game because I was at the game, but I did look up the monitor. I'm like, oh, Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, I don't know why, at the time he was going into the 10. Outside the tent was Big Dom.
Yeah.
Like, Big Dom is managing the tent?
That's right.
Hey,
He's the bouncer.
Big Dom says Jalen can go back in the game.
Yeah. Hey, you want to get in the tent? Keep walking, pal. Your name's not on the list.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
Amerks head coach Mike Leone stopping by the sports bar. Next hour, we'll also talk more Bills with Michael F. Florio from NFL Network. The one element of the game on Sunday that we didn't talk about with Perino, and honestly, I don't want to talk about it, but we know who is going to be officiating this game on Sunday, and the moment that the Chiefs advanced to the AFC Championship, we all started to hear the chatter, in my opinion, the nauseating chatter of the refs being in bed with Kansas City. I have some thoughts.
Okay, so there is one kind of aspect to the game. Are we allowed to feel bad for Mark Andrews? We'll give you the latest here, what's happened since the game with Mark Andrews. And if I may, Danger, if you'll allow it, a non-sports take to just kind of lighten the mood here.
Of course, a little non-sports take on the way. We'll get to Mike Leone, and we'll get to Michael F. Florio, all coming up before 5 o'clock here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Money coming in on the Kansas City Chiefs. The line in this game has moved from Chiefs by 1.5 to now Chiefs by 2. Bills head coach Sean McDermott talking about his team being aggressive on fourth down.
Yes. I mean, you grow through the years, you learn things, you learn about your team that season. So all of them are a little bit different, but you continue to try and put your team in position to win, and that's what we do.
2 p.m. for our pregame coverage this Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. We'll talk some Bills football later this hour. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, and a Bills fan joining us here in the Sports Bar. Sabres in Vancouver tonight, 10 p.m. for our coverage. Buffalo losing yesterday in Seattle. The LA Dodgers keep spending money today, adding reliever Kirby Yates. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
If it's going to take us getting there by beating the Chiefs, and the Bills are going to say that's the way it should be. It will be sweeter, obviously, if you get it done, but it's a different Bills team.
I think this Bills team can win in a multitude of ways, and I think it's what makes them the most dangerous matchup for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mike Danger.
The majority of the country wants Buffalo to win this game. We have everybody on our side. This is a better opportunity than it was 4 years ago. This is it, man. This is Josh Allen playing the best football of his career. This is Sean McDermott doing the best coaching job of his career. This is when you go into Kansas City and you beat the Chiefs.
Gene Battaglia.
It's Chiefs week.
Yep.
It's here.
Yep.
This is what we asked for. Here it comes. I look at a team that is very well coached, and they know how to manage games. And they have the best coach in the game today. We're on to the Chiefs.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
And just before it slips my mind, McDermott there in your sports update talking about the team's success on fourth down this season. The 4 remaining teams, I don't think it's a coincidence, the 4 remaining teams, 4 best teams on fourth down in the NFL this season, knowing when to take the risk and then converting on that fourth down risk.
Which is interesting because for the Bills, hey, it's 4th and 1. Guess what? You're getting Josh Allen. Kansas City doesn't do that. They're not going to use Patrick Mahomes in that sort of play.
They just know they're going to dial something up, and whatever it is that they dial up, it's likely going to work. We welcome you back into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We'll talk more Bills and Chiefs as we welcome in Michael F. Florio from NFL Network before we get to happy hour at 5 o'clock. And we also will spend some time with Amerks head coach Mike Leone here right around 20 minutes from now or so, with the team making a trip through New England this upcoming weekend. We'll give you a little preview of the action you'll be able to hear on your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey, the Fan Rochester.
So there is this story today that the tight end, Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens, is receiving death threats.
Ugh.
You know, I'd just like to think that these are just people who should be charged with a crime, by the way, like online. There's nothing.
Has Bill's Mafia stepped up to donate to Mark Andrews' cause? Okay.
Yeah, they have. So, look, following this loss, you have to feel bad for the guy, right? Sunday night, Mark Andrews did not talk to reporters. Okay, understandable. But then on Monday, locker clean-out day, and you've had a time to digest this. Andrews again did not make himself available to the media. I know what you're thinking, Danger. Perhaps you're thinking, that's a Francesa. Who cares if he talks to reporters or not? But sooner or later, if you want to play in this league, you are going to have to talk about what happened. There is going to be a next season in Baltimore, believe it or not. Maybe it's not a bad idea for Mark Andrews to get some professional help here. Go talk to someone.
You know what? I just imagine that it's going to take him a little bit of time, and that he's just devastated, that he's just dealing with something that he's never had to deal with before in his career, letting down his team. And ultimately, did he really let down his team? Yeah, he didn't catch the ball. It came down to that one play for them to a chance to tie it. The fumble, I don't blame him. I think any tight end in the NFL running the ball that has that happen to them by Terrell Bernard is fumbling that football.
It's a magnificent play by Bernard.
Right.
The 2-point conversion. Come on.
You got to catch it.
Yeah.
Yes. But even then, it's a tie game with a minute and a half to go, and you're probably, Josh Allen's probably. he could beat himself up over it because he could feel like he let his team down. I get all of that, and maybe that takes a little bit of time. The thing that'll be interesting is, do they keep him? Do the Ravens keep him? Do they view him now as toxic? Is he somebody that, they're saying all the right things? Lamar is going to say all the right things to the media, like we don't fault him, that, we all needed to be better. He's been coached up and he knows what to say in those situations. But behind closed doors, is it more than that? Is it no, we need to look for a way to move on.
Well, Nestor Cortez didn't pitch for how many weeks, and they put him in a situation, and he gives up the grand slam to Freddie Freeman. And okay, you know what? You're out of here.
Yeah.
We're gonna send you to Milwaukee.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens. I just wish the best for Mark Andrews, and he kind of moves on. And for anybody that's doing that,
I think I think that's ridiculous. If you're a fan who does that, check yourself. Really, you're the one that needs to seek help. That's sad. And I think Andrews is still a really good player. I think he's still a really, really good tight end in this league, and he's been a great playmaker for them for the entirety of Lamar's career. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's back next year and that this is just a setback, something he's going to have to deal with, a memory that he's going to have to kind of erase, and hopefully has a short memory and can be a contributor in the NFL. The NFL is better with Mark Andrews in it. I hope he can be the kind of contributor that we've seen him throughout the course of his career as soon as next fall. The moment the Chiefs advanced to the AFC Championship game, you started to hear the nauseating chatter of the refs being in bed with Kansas City. I have a friend who's a Chiefs fan who, I'm not a Chiefs guy, okay? I'm not a Chiefs guy. But hearing all of this, it just sounds, if you're a Kansas City fan, you've got to be disgusted by it. I'm an NFL fan, and I'm disgusted by it. Can we just stop with the NFL being scripted? Like the NFL doesn't want the most valuable franchise in all of professional sports in the Super Bowl, or a team from LA or New York teams, or the team from Chicago in the Super Bowl. Not only is blaming the refs for the Chiefs' dominance a lazy take draped in massive loser energy, I have news for you. It's not even accurate. Gino, in the past 2 years, Kansas City opponents have been flagged 48 times in the fourth quarter and overtime of one-score games. Do you want to take a stab at how many times Kansas City has been flagged?
48 times?
47.
Oh.
The refs don't favor the Chiefs. We're all fatigued. We have Chiefs fatigue. We all buy into this false narrative that every call goes their way. Now, was Mahomes flop on the sideline against Houston last weekend gross? Sure was. And you know who else works over the refs to get calls for his team? Josh Allen. He does it almost every game. So much so that refs have to actually go talk to him on the sideline and tell him to knock it off. We can be critical of officiating in every game. They're going to blow calls. They do it all the time. But what the Chiefs do better than any other team is they take advantage of those penalties. They're well coached. Mahomes remains a cold-blooded killer. Before you blame the refs for an unfavorable outcome from the game, recognize that if your team played better, it wouldn't come down to one bad call. Now, yesterday you told me who the ref with this game is going to be.
Yeah.
And it makes
Blakeman,
makes my blood boil. He's like, I think we were talking about this with Catalana. Like, which there's every sports fan has an official that makes your blood boil. Like, if you're a baseball fan, Angel Hernandez, you hear it, it's like, oh, that's Blakeman for me. I
It was Kerry Frazier for me in the NHL.
You remember him,
yeah,
right?
You remember
Everybody
him,
remembers how bad you hate that official now. Clete Blakeman gets the AFC title game duties between the Chiefs and the Bills. The Chiefs are 10-7 all time with Blakeman. The Bills are 10-6. Home teams finished an NFL worst 5-11 with Blakeman this season. He also assessed a league-high 134 penalties against home teams, for what that's worth.
Danger, there is an exhibit here in your argument that you're not presenting. Like a call that some crews would not make actually gave the Bills a win. Not give. It was the correct call. Kadarius Toney lining up offside.
Right.
Yeah, that went against the Chiefs.
So every Bills fan that wants to say that, like, you don't have to look that far to know that what anybody that says that the game is rigged or that the Chiefs have the refs in their pocket, stop. It's not true. It's a false narrative. We all have Chiefs fatigue. The whole country outside of Missouri is rooting for the Bills this weekend.
I was so disappointed to see Caitlin Clark up in the box. I'm like, no, Caitlin, no. Don't join.
Oh, who cares?
I guess you're up. No, I don't want.
It's a giant Francesa.
No, who cares?
Danger, just want them to go away.
I don't care.
Like, if the
Doesn't matter.
if the Bills lost that game to the Ravens, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do I really want to subject myself to an AFC Championship game, Kansas City and Baltimore once again? Maybe when the week rolls around. Do we really want to subject ourselves to another Super Bowl with Kansas City? And for like,
no, we have a very important job to do on Sunday. I'm saying we, like I'm a part of the team. The Bills have a very important job. It has to stop, and it can stop. It can stop with a win on Sunday.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, there's America's sweetheart with America's sweetheart. Can we get any more sweet than what we have in that box right now at Arrowhead?
Listen, Travis, just go, propose, retire, be on with your life.
I mean,
get on with your life.
He's done after this year, right? We all kind of recognize that. He doesn't have to keep getting his face kicked in every single week in the NFL to be a success moving forward. He's set up.
Is he getting a network deal right away? Like, what does this look like?
Whatever he wants, he's getting.
I look at Jason, and it's been like, okay, it's kind of on the fringe, right? He's not getting one of those main gigs.
Nah, they're doing fine. But the podcast and everything that they got going on, all the endorsement deals and I feel like I can't turn the TV on without seeing a Kelsey brother. They're both just fine. And I think the one more year was almost like, oh, sure, why not? Why not play one more year? But, the way he came into the season, kind of out of shape, right? Like after living his best life with the most popular and famous woman in the world all summer, you have a feeling that maybe he wants to do more of that moving forward and less of getting his face kicked in by other teams. That's just my opinion. We'll see. You have a very important job on Sunday. The Buffalo Bills, they can end it all. They can end it. They can end the season for the Chiefs. Oh, they can't get here soon enough.
Ooh. Oh, my God. That would be so. Are we allowed to daydream about it? Sure.
Yes, we are.
One non-sports take today, Danger. And
Let's hear it.
This was like a lot yesterday. A lot going on in the world, as you know. What would be your one executive order? I'm the man in charge, and this is what I'm going to change. Here is my executive order, right? One universal phone charger. Moving forward, every adapter is the same because mine always seems to get scarfed. My daughter's scooting away to college, taking the cord, or maybe it goes up to her room or whatever it is, and I have a charger that doesn't fit. It's annoying. Why do they do this? I know that's not an executive order, but maybe somebody in Congress can present that as a bill.
So just one, you're saying regardless of brand, Apple, Samsung, doesn't matter, one universal charger.
That's it.
Yeah, because right now, am I wrong in believing that new iPhones have a different charger than older iPhones? Like, I think my charger wouldn't work with a new iPhone.
16 does not compatible. Right. Like, it seems like, okay, you need to buy this product as well.
Right. Well, that's what you're suggesting. What you're suggesting is that Apple and everybody, all the tech giants that were at the inauguration yesterday, that they would have to be forced to take a hit on their bottom line by making something that actually helps the American people? I mean, I'm with you. Feels like a long shot. Can I give you mine? It's a small thing. I've talked about it before. It's a small thing, but I say often.
Can I take a guess? Put the shopping cart back.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you. Yes.
Really?
That's it.
I guessed it.
You did guess it because I say it all the time. If you're too small, if you're too big to do the small things, then you're too small to do the big things. And it's such a small thing. And when I see it, it drives me crazy. And I know I'm not alone. I've talked about this before. Put your shopping cart back in the corral. And bonus points. I'm not even going to get picky. Bonus points if you actually put them, the small ones on one side and the large ones on the other side. You put it in the one where it belongs. Like even more points for you.
No, you know what you do? You're parking and, hey, I'm going to need a shopping cart. Get one yourself out of the corral. Lighten the load for the kid that's going to
I would absolutely do that. Yeah. Except every time I go by a corral, It's like a maze of twisted metal, and it's disorderly. So much so that I can't even park next to it, Gino. The sight of it makes me angry. I get angry because I think about all of the people that just haphazardly just throw it in the middle of the parking lot or haphazardly throw it in the corral, even though there's a sign that says small carts on this side, large carts on this side. We can't comply. That it drives me nuts. I know it's a crazy little quirky. It's my one thing. I literally will not park. I have to park far away and not make eye contact with the corral as I'm walking into the store because if I see it, I will get angry.
Have you ever been diagnosed with OCD?
I don't have OCD. As far as I know, I don't have OCD.
No.
I'm not Zane Gonzalez.
A lot of people in our business do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm not crazy. I recognize I probably have some disorders. I don't think OCD is one of them, though.
Zane Gonzalez kicking his team to a victory.
That's
the other
right.
night.
That's right. How do you not love that? How do you not root for that guy? That would be my thing. Just a small thing. Not a big deal. Not a big sweeping change. Just a small thing to get us all kind of making better choices throughout the course of our day. That's it. Sorry she took your charger, buddy. Do you let your phone die down? How are you managing through that?
Oh, no. I have another one. It's just the cord that goes into – so I had to go get it from my car. So I had a backup plan.
Yeah. There's also something I think to be said for letting the battery drain all the way, like not charging your phone. I know that we are so attached to our phones we can't let that happen, but like there is something freeing. It's like the Seinfeld episode where Kramer drives on the empty tank and tries to see how far he can take the car on the empty tank, and he gets a rush. It's exhilarating to see if they can keep driving the car without filling up and seeing how empty they can get the tank. Driving after the thing says 0 miles left in your range.
Can't really do that anymore. Your new cars will tell you like exactly how many miles. Right?
Yeah, right. But even I'll do it. I'll push it. It'll say 0, range 0, and I'll still be driving. I'm like,
oh heck no. Like maybe it's OCD with me. When it gets to a quarter, nope, I'm filling up.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm filling up.
There you go. Yeah, I think the same thing with your phone. If you let it die down to 1%, I know everybody feels anxiety when their phone gets under 10% or 5%.
Oh, as soon as it goes red, like you're under 20.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Take a deep breath and maybe let that bad boy die a battery. Let the battery just die out and charge it when you need to charge it. I kind of like that idea, too. I think that's a move. Sorry. Daughter took my charger. Phone died. I think it'll play. People have to believe it because it happens so infrequently now. What? How could you let your phone? Sorry, just happened. Phone died. We got to get to Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach. He's going to stop by the sports bar here in a few. Big weekend ahead, a trip through New England for the Amerks, and we'll recap the weekend that was. A couple of games against Lehigh Valley, also Hershey on Sunday. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach. Our guest next on The Fan Rochester.
update.
Betting line moving for the AFC Championship game was at Kansas City favored by 1.5. It's now Kansas City by 2. Head coach Sean McDermott, even though it's a championship game, wants to make this week like any other.
I think at the end of the day, it's normal routine, normal approach. Make sure we're prepared during the week to do our jobs and do them at a high level.
2 p.m. for our pregame coverage this Sunday here on the Fan Rochester. We'll talk some Bills. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, joining us later this hour. Late night with the Buffalo Sabres tonight. They're in Vancouver, 10 p.m. for our coverage. Buffalo falling in Seattle yesterday. The Rochester Americans, they're on the road this weekend. We'll talk to head coach Michael Leone coming up next. The LA Dodgers keep spending money. Today adding reliever Kirby Yates. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Coach, we know you're a Michigan guy. We know you're a Detroit fan. They're coming off the bye. How big are they winning by come this weekend?
You know what? I think they blow them out, to be honest with you.
Oh, no.
Freezing takes exposed in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The coach, he's probably down about the
Well,
team.
let's check in. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach. Lions guy. You lose your offensive coordinator, you lose the game. Uh-oh. I'm in trouble now.
Hey, that's why I'm a hockey coach, not a football coach. That's why I don't get I don't get paid to coach football, so I could have this crazy take and I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, I know that you had a game Saturday night, and you're not. I mean, I don't know. Were they announcing the score there in the arena? How do you just kind of? I've got a job to do, and maybe I'll find out after. And then I could only picture you going in the locker room after the game. Oh crap! What's going on here?
Yeah, my wife was texting me like updates, like play by play, and she just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, but. Yeah, you just in football you can't turn the ball over 5 times, and I like the trick plays, but some of them I just it's 3rd and 1 and they're running I don't know. It's always easy to play Monday morning quarterback now, but it just wasn't good. It was the worst time to not show up for a football game, and Washington was great, well-coached team. Really good quarterback, poised, and they were better.
It's so funny. I mean, you can make the parallels in any sport, really. That when you're in the heat of that level of competition, and there's a lot riding on the game. You mentioned the turnovers. Like mistakes are magnified, and I think that's universal, is it not? I mean, when you talk about games in the postseason or games where a playoff berth is on the line, or you're trying to retain first place in the division. Every mistake is under a microscope and magnified 100 times over. The Lions outgained the Commanders by a wide margin, and it didn't matter.
No, it's you bring up a really good point. I think it's just in hockey. When you watch, especially now we're getting to the back half of the season, and the margin for error. Usually, the game comes down to turnovers, and the team that usually does the right thing more often than not in the game, and it's a battle of wills. And if you do that, you have a really good chance to come out on the right side of it. And just if you look at even the Ravens, that's going to the Buffalo game, the 2 huge turnovers, and the Lions game was you have that many turnovers, and you just keep your defense on the field, and it's costly. I mean, 5 turnovers in a game, you pretty much have no chance to win.
Michael Leone, I'm sorry, Coach, head coach of Rochester Americans, our guest here. Coach, 3 games, 3 days. This used to be the norm in the American Hockey League. Thankfully, they've kind of gotten away from that, but that's rough. So getting the 3 of the 6 points, how big picture overall do you look at this past weekend?
Yeah, you know what? If you look at the weekend, just the way we played, it's some of the probably best hockey we played. Honestly, like we were, I thought we won in overtime the first night. I thought the goal went in. It didn't. they said it didn't go in, and we had a really good road win. And then if you look at the Hershey game, for them to not play the night before and for us to get off to the start we did, I think we outshot them 12-4 in the first period. A couple mistakes, but overall for the weekend, we were really happy with our group, and not so much, you take the emotion out of it when you just look at how hard our group competed that game against arguably a top 3 team in the league. We were really, really happy. We were down 5-3, and we could have easily scored in the 6-on-5. We probably had 5 or 6 really good looks, and the guys pushed at the end. And probably wish we would have got 4 out of 6. But anytime you go 1-1-1 in a weekend like that, you're going to take it. And we accumulated points, and we're still in the spot where we want to be. So overall, it was a really, really great weekend from our group, and the way we played. Especially in that last night, it's a long travel, tough weekend. Like I said, they didn't play, but our group played really well.
Mike, take us back to Friday night. You mentioned it. I mean, it was a game that you thought that we won. We ended up not winning. Some things can be reviewed, apparently. Some things cannot be reviewed. And reports are that this was the most steam that a lot of fans have seen you behind the bench with the Rochester Americans. What did you learn? What came out of that? What exactly transpired on Friday night?
Yeah, I understand. It's so hard to believe that we're in the league that we play in, that there's no review on some of these calls. It's just hard to understand. But the call on the ice, Rosie got a breakaway. When the puck clearly goes in the net, the goalie's going back, Rosie's momentum's going forward, but it had no direct influence on the puck went in the net. The ref was behind the net. He called a goal. So unless you go to the review, which is there's no review, the guys on the ice, you have to, if it's inconclusive, it's a goal. But then they came back and then they said it was no, they had no goal on the ice, but he clearly pointed a goal. He was behind the net. And then after the game, the linesman said it was goaltender interference. So I was like, well, you can go to review for goaltender interference, but it was just, it was strange. It was hard to wrap your mind around it, but some things don't go your way, and we got a point out of it, so that was good.
Yeah, you have roster move today, and he's been up there before, Tyson Kozak, but I mean, I love a guy that was drafted in the 7th round, getting a little taste once again, and who knows how long his stay is going to be up there, Coach, going out to the West Coast. But what has he meant to the Amherst so far, and what do you think he can do back up with Buffalo?
Yeah, no, it's a great story. Tyson is, a 7th round draft pick. Really, battled some injuries last year, but he's been, we're a different team when he's in the lineup. He's physical. He plays to an identity. He plays the game the right way. It's hard to find where he makes mistakes in the game. He's done a really good job up there, winning face-offs, and he's got a little time on the kill. But great story of, hard work and perseverance, and, the things behind the scenes that, he practices extremely hard. And, it's a great example of, he's a coachable kid. He's dependable. He's low maintenance in a world where there's a lot going on, and it's usually about me, and he's all about the team. And he's been a great story, and I'm really happy for him.
Second weekend in a row where the Amherst are facing Atlantic Division opponents. Providence, the opponent on Friday night. Saturday, it'll be Hartford. What do you know about the two teams you're going to face off against this weekend on the coast, Coach?
Yeah. Providence is one of the top teams in the league. They do a great job year in year out. They're a veteran group. They defend really hard. Two excellent goalies. If you look at DiPietro and Bussy, that's probably arguably one of the best tandems in the league, and it'll be a really good test for us on the road. They're you look at the teams they've played in our division, and they're a really good team. They're structured, they're organized, they play the right way. they defend really well. And then Hartford is a team that, they just went to Charlotte and swept at Charlotte, and Charlotte is arguably the best team we played all year. So it's a really good test for the group and a big weekend for us.
Coach, we've kind of touched on this before, but just the success that your team has had on the road. Now, you don't get the one in Hershey, but you bounce back here. Is there any one or two reasons that you can point to as to why the Amerks have just been so stout on the road this season?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't have an answer for you. Like it was funny. We were looking at Hershey Bears. They're the same way. I think they're 10-10 at home, and I think they're right around where we are on the road. I don't know. It's kind of we've been really good on the road. Like we've managed. I think it says a lot about our group. I could tell you that we just going at rinks that are hard to play against. Just Lehigh Valley was a tough place. Laval, Syracuse, and guys have handled those situations really well. A lot of tough environments to play in, and I think we've got off to really good starts in those games. So I think when you're on the road, if you're chasing the game, it could be really difficult. But we've been able to get off to really good starts and kind of overwhelm teams at times with our puck pressure and the way we possess the puck, and just our ability to, when we're up in those games on the road, to finish games out, I think is really important. And we've come a long way from the start of the year of understanding there's certain times in a game where you really got to lock it down that are different than others, and our group has done a great job of that.
Coach, what about you? I mean, we talk to fans all the time, and they know that we have the chance and the opportunity to talk to you on a weekly basis. And it's your first year coaching this team. It's your first team in the AHL. You're saying a lot of great things about your guys in that locker room. How have you adjusted here through the course of the first half of the season, half plus of the season now as we move into February next month?
Yeah, for me it's been I credit our staff a lot. They've made an easy transition. I've never coached pro hockey, and the amount of games and the travel. And Vinny obviously played in the NHL a long time, and Pacers obviously played in the NHL. He coached first season of pro hockey, so they've been fantastic for me, and I give them a lot. They're presenting in front of the team a lot in between periods sometimes, and for me, it's been great. I think the biggest thing is the things that I've always believed in, and been fortunate to be around a lot of great coaches of what is really important and one wins you hockey games is it's kind of been magnified and just on my belief system of what wins, and it's kind of gave me a lot of confidence into coaching the team, and I feel in my head coaching career, I feel like I'm the most comfortable now in pro hockey, and I feel I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I love it. I love coming to the rink every day. I love our group, and it's every day I wake up and I'm the happiest guy in the world because I get to do what I love and be around great people.
Are you an early riser, or are you somebody that likes to big time? Okay, so how do you deal with tonight? Because hey,
I'll probably watch the whole game.
You will? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I don't get a lot of. I probably get it from my mom. I'm not a big sleeper. I probably need only 4, maybe 5 hours, and I'm good. So I'm an early person. I'm an early riser.
That's a different level of discipline,
that
Mike.
Is, yeah.
I mean, I'm telling Gino off the air. Yeah, 10:30. I'm out. There's no way I can.
Yeah,
do 10.
what would you say to Danger? Like tonight, we got a request because everybody wants to talk Bills with us. One of the two of you guys, can you go on the network with us? And Danger's like,
tapped out.
10,
I'll be asleep.
20, I'm going to be asleep.
I'll be out.
Yeah, come on.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't McDermott like a crazy 4:30 guy?
Yeah, but I bet you he's going to bed at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
No, he's like Coach Leone. He's like somebody who is grinding the tape, and then he's hitting the gym at 4 in the morning. That's
I'm a big. I watch a lot of just tons of games. It's been kind of a strange month for us because we're just playing on the weekend this month until next week. So I watch AHL games NHL games, like tons of games. I'm on my computer, so I'm kind of a junkie when it comes to that. So I'll definitely watch the game tonight.
All right, well, now I feel bad. Now I got to start getting up at 4 a.m. Maybe I'll do a cold plunge early.
No, I always tell people it's not. I'm not one of those, like, I'm, I'm not. I'm just like that. Everybody's different, and it's not one of those things where I'm out working. So I just like it. It's just who I am, and it's part of my DNA. And some people aren't more like my wife, for instance. She could sleep all day. We're complete opposites. So, it's whatever works best for everybody.
Mike, it's great having you on with us. Best of luck this weekend. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you again next week, same time.
Yeah, it's always great, guys. Have a good one.
You got it, bud.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
All right,
Mike
there
Leone,
we go. Yeah.
on board. Emmerich's head coach joining us here in the Sports Bar. Providence on Friday night, 6 o'clock Saturday night for Hartford. Both games right here on your home for Rochester Americans hockey, the Fan Rochester.
5 hours. I got 5 hours yesterday, and I was like,
I can do 5 hours. I don't like to make a habit of doing 5 hours. I can even do 4 hours. I don't like to make a habit of doing 4 hours. I can tell it's affecting my performance at my advanced stage now, Gino. But yeah, for me, it's the discipline of getting up. Like, that's my problem. I can't. That alarm goes off at 4:30, 5 a.m. I know there are a lot of people. I mean, I'll leave early some mornings, and I'll see people going for their dad run, under the cloak of darkness at 5 a.m. I'm like, God bless you. I'm still struggling at 5 a.m. But Leone's one of those guys. He's a night owl. He's a junkie when it comes to watching these games. I kind of like that. I'm the same way when it comes. If there's action on and I've got an interest, I'm in, and I'll be dialed in. Last night was fun. I mean, we didn't even talk about the national championship game. That was.
Yeah, we.
Oh, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State gets the first ever college football playoff championship.
Oh, okay. The way the game started off, I'm like, very good. And
interesting.
Then, 2 touchdowns in 6 minutes. Okay.
A little bit of a gap in talent there between the two programs, but you got to give Notre Dame credit for at least trying to make it close there in the end. We'll get to Michael F. Florio. We'll talk some more Bills and Chiefs next on the Fan Rochester.
Where you are with the Odyssey app and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
We're not superstitious. No, you're superstitious. So Michael F. Florio, fantasy football season's been done for a while, but we love having Michael F. Florio from NFL Network on just to talk Bills during the postseason here, Mike. And we get the chance to do it again. And looking forward to the AFC Championship game coming up here on Sunday from Arrowhead. Welcome back into the sports bar. And I know that it's kind of a moot point because the votes have already been cast, but you said something and you were mentioning something that was very interesting on X earlier today about the differences between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Simply put, the Bills' defensive game plan was to allow Lamar Jackson to fall on his face. You're not going to see Josh Allen do that this season with the way he's been playing.
Not only are you not going to see Josh Allen do that, I would love to give every defensive coordinator who has played the Bills this year some truth serum and be like, who is option 1, 2, and 3 that give you nightmares that you have to stay up at night thinking about stopping? Because I love James Cook. He is awesome. Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, they're all great. No defensive coordinator starts their game planning for the Buffalo Bills saying, we need to take these running backs out of the equation. It's all about Allen. In fact, what I've been seeing more lately is teams trying to cut off his running lanes, not let him beat them with their legs as much. As great as Lamar is, and the article was by Tyler Dune, Sean McDermott and the Bills players were very vocal that we wanted Derrick Henry to take him away and make Lamar beat us. It's the same thing that the Steelers defensive coordinator, and remember that Steelers defense is the one that has given Lamar the most trouble throughout the years. He said the same thing. It's Derrick Henry is priority 1, Lamar is 2. So my argument is, how are you the MVP of the NFL? I know the stats are amazing, but how are you the MVP if you are the number 2 concern in the biggest game of the year while teams are game planning against your offense?
From that game, Michael, I feel for Mark Andrews. But my gosh, when you're doing your evaluations for fantasy next season, we have yet to hear him talk. He refused to talk to reporters after the game. Locker cleanout not available. But I'm just wondering where the future kind of goes for Mark Andrews in Baltimore.
As long as a whole lot doesn't change this year, like if Andrews is back, and I would expect that he is, he's their all-time leading receiving touchdown guy. He's been there with Lamar since day one. They were drafted in the same class. So I think everything that he means for Lamar, for the organization, the players, and I love this, they all had his back. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, it's not just on him, even Lamar. And I've been arguing on Twitter that I think Mark Andrews is a scapegoat right now. I'm not saying he is not part of the reason why they lost. He had an awful fourth quarter, turned the ball over once, dropped the 2-point conversion. But Lamar Jackson had 2 turnovers in the first half. He had the biggest negative EPA play of the day with that fumble. After that fumble that gave the Bills a touchdown lead, the Ravens never tied the game. They never led anything. They were in a hole that Lamar put them in. So as phenomenal as Lamar played in the second half, and trust me, just like I'm sure you guys were, I was very nervous watching him do his thing in the second half. But his fingerprints are just as much on this loss. So are the defenses. The best run defense in the league couldn't stop the run for the entire first half. Like, it's a total team effort. And, yeah, it's awful the timing of when it happened to Mark Andrews. But it's not like they played a perfect game, everyone else besides him. So no team has won a playoff game this year while losing the turnover battle. Lamar had 2 turnovers. His fingerprints are just as much on it as Mark Andrews.
All right, so one of our listeners points this out as we look ahead of the AFC Championship here, the comparison between the Bills and the Chiefs to the Bulls and the Pistons from back in the day. This is from our buddy Cruiser on X. Bulls lost 3 straight years to Detroit from 88 to 1990 in the playoffs before they broke through in 91, the conference finals. Also the 4th playoff matchup here between the Bills and the Chiefs. It does feel different this year, F.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny that you bring up this comparison with Michael Jordan and the Bulls, because I brought up this same exact comparison on my podcast, Florio's Football Show, earlier this morning, saying that it feels like for the Bills to win a championship, they have to go through Kansas City. And I had a lot of people asking me,
are you rooting for the Texans? If the Bills lose, do you want to see the Ravens win? And my answer every single time was no. If the Bills are not the team to beat the Chiefs, I want to see the Chiefs win again, because it only feels right that if anyone is to end this dynasty, end this three-peat, it is the team that has been so close so many times. And it's like LeBron having to get through like the Pistons early in his career as well. Funny it's the Pistons, but like there's a lot of these sports things where, like, to get to the top of the mountain, there's always that one team you need to beat. And look, I know we would all accept the easier matchup. I think it would be there'd be feelings of like, we wanted the Chiefs if the Texans pulled off the upset last week. And I do agree with you. I think it feels different this go around. The Bills have a better rushing attack than ever. The Bills are more physical than ever. Josh Allen is playing the cleanest football a quarterback has played in NFL history when it comes to protecting the ball and negative plays. But besides all of that, I'm looking at the defense here. In 3 losses against the Chiefs, they have never, in the playoffs, they have never sacked Patrick Mahomes. They've never made him force a turnover. This past week was the Bills had more pressure on Lamar than any team besides the Steelers this season. They had a lot of pressure 2 weeks ago against the Broncos. Their defense just looks different in the playoffs this year. I think they're pissed off. I think they're tired of being disrespected. And also, I think they're tired of hearing that they are the reason the Bills don't have a Super Bowl right now and the Bills keep coming up short. I think this defense is different than it has been in years past. And in the last 4 years, 4 regular season games, the Bills have averaged 28 points per game against the Chiefs. In their 3 playoff losses, the Bills have averaged 28 points per game against the Chiefs, the exact same number. The difference, the defense in the regular season has held them to an average of less than 20 points per game, and in the playoffs, the Chiefs are averaging nearly 36 points per game against the Bills' defense. So that is the unit that has to step up. I trust Josh Allen. I trust this offense. If the defense could do their thing, I like I'm not going to get it too ahead of myself, but I like their chances.
Well, for the defense to do their thing, and you watched, Chiefs Texans, and well, I don't know because it was freezing cold in Kansas City, or maybe the Texans have 2 really good corners. I just found it interesting that Patrick Mahomes, other than Worthy, didn't throw to a wide receiver in that game. So was that just game plan specific, or could we see more? And there is a concern this week that, and we're not going to know till later in the week if that, about Christian Benford going through the concussion protocol. So the idea that, all right, what you see out of the Kansas City receivers, was that just kind of a 1-week thing going against the Texans, or might Kansas City actually just kind of run the ball and throw to their tight ends and not too much else there?
I expect them to throw more to their wide receivers in this one. Xavier Worthy had a big game against the Bills earlier this year, and he's very fast, and we know that speed is one thing that has hurt this secondary in the past. It depends on the health of Marquise Brown and how utilized he could be, and to me, it depends on the game script. Like, they were ahead most of that game last week, so they didn't have to throw a bunch. If the Bills jump out to an early lead, a lot like against the Ravens, they could force them to run the ball, to throw the ball a little bit more. But what I'm feeling good about is they just shut down the best rushing attack in the NFL. They stopped Derrick Henry, who has been a thorn in their side his entire career. Like, no offense to Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, it is a huge downgrade for the running back that they are facing this week. So if they could contain the run again, they will naturally force the Chiefs to have to pass more. But if Benford plays, I'll take the chances with the secondary. They have been playing great. They've been making life really tough on opposing passing games. And look, just don't panic if the Chiefs score on the opening drive.
Right.
That seems to be the trend right now.
Mike, what about that backfield of Kansas City? Because you and I, before the season started, and we were talking about fantasy football, we were both enamored. We were both on Team Pacheco. We're like, we need this guy. I want this guy on my roster. That guy is going to, he's going to be a league winner for us. And, the injury certainly derails our plans there. He, to my eyes, hasn't looked like the same Isaiah Pacheco in coming back from that injury in the middle of the season.
Same for me, and the stats back it up as well. He doesn't have the same burst. He doesn't have that quick explosiveness and the big play ability. And we know that is something that he has in his game. So I'm expecting to see that back next year. This is something that I think sometimes gets overlooked. When a player comes back from injury, the thought is like, okay, the player's back, he's back to himself. And a lot of times that is not the case, especially at the running back position, especially to lower leg injuries. It's why someone like Austin Eckler looks rejuvenated this year, but he looked like he was going to be out of the league last season because he was coming back from a severe lower leg injury. So not only is Pacheco, I don't think that same guy. Kareem Hunt he's like a good 3 to 4 yards to carry kind of guy, but he doesn't have that burst either. And what the Chiefs offense is lacking that they had in past years is that pass-catching running back who can just break your back. When you have everyone else contained, he could just drop it off to the running back. Like it was Jerick McKinnon for years. And this is the time of year where McKinnon would break out. And before that, it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Damian Williams, all these pass-catching running backs. They have guys like Pacheco and Hunt who can be utilized in the passing game, but they're not the receiving specialists like those old backs were, and two, they don't have the same burst. So, yeah, I think this is the most confident I have felt that the Bills match up well against the Chiefs of any of the playoff games. Now, does that matter? We'll find out on Sunday, but going into these past matchups, it was like, oh, man, there's 2-3 players that this defense has to beat, and then there's also Patrick Mahomes there. This year, even Travis Kelce, look, I think they save his best for the playoffs. They just tell him, don't get hurt, don't anything in the regular season. But he is not the Travis Kelce that he was in the 13-second game. He's not the Travis Kelce even of last season, I think. I think we're starting to see the decline of him. So he could still win. He is still an all-time great. But these weapons that the Chiefs have are lacking compared to past years.
Michael F. Florio, how many Bills jerseys do you own? And if so, you own one. Which one are you wearing this week, Michael?
I own a couple. I have some like blasts from the past. Like I have a C.J. Spiller. I have a Fred Jackson. I still have my Steph Diggs one, but it's Josh Allen. That's who I rep every day on game day. I'm not changing it. It's worked so far. Why change it now?
That's right. We're not about superstition here in the sports bar. That's why we're talking to you every single Tuesday at the same time, just so we can talk Bills with you. And Mike, before we let you go, if we can, because I saw you put this out as well. Hey, some of us are already thinking about fantasy, football again for the 2025 season. And you had a point about quarterback specifically, that if you look at the quarterback position outside of the top 5 guys, there's a bit of a pack of mid. It's just not great. Tell us who the 5 guys are and why we maybe want to, as we look ahead to draft season, why we may want to look at making a larger investment in one of the top 5 guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And with quarterbacks, the strategy is always wait as long as you can and you'll be fine. And I kind of agree in the sense of if you're not getting one of the top 5, just wait and play quarterback chicken. But I do think it's worth paying up for the top 5, and those 5 being Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jaden Daniels. Outside of Joe Burrow, they all give you top production with their legs. They're all elite passers outside of Jaden, but we see that he has that potential there. They were the top 5 this year, and then there was a huge fall off. I know people might be surprised not to hear Patrick Mahomes' name in there. He's the best quarterback in football, but for fantasy, he's been closer to QB 10 than QB 1 each of the last 2 years. So I think after a 2-year down sample size, he doesn't belong in the top 5. And then we were talking on our podcast today. There's guys like Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. Then there's upside guys like Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Anthony Richardson. And I'm like, I'll wait and I'll take 2. I'll take a safe guy and I'll take an upside guy. But this is one of the first times in a while where I'm like, you know what? If I can get whichever one of the top 5 is cheapest, that's going to be my target, because I think there is a significant drop-off after that. And all the quarterbacks after those top 5 are, like you said, they're kind of in a big group where they're all very similar.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. Michael, I refuse to believe this will be our last conversation. Let's do this again next Tuesday.
Oh, and the Tuesday after that. How about that?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Mike, enjoy the rest of your week, bud, and enjoy the game on Sunday.
Likewise. Go Bills.
You got it. There's Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. What a treat to be able to talk to him. And no, we're not superstitious. Like, we got to get him back on again. And he's with us. He's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm there. Let's do it.
Talking about worthy, though. Does Andy Reid get all cute and want to win with style points?
Yes.
Meaning, let me stick it to the Bills fan base and.
Yep. Totally expect Worthy to be a factor. Totally expecting him to be a factor.
I think that would be such a mistake. Really? Like they're going to design a game
Do
plan?
you have any speed that matches up with that guy? The answer is no. If you're looking for a mismatch, there's your mismatch.
Timeout. What do we have in Cole Bishop?
I
I don't know. That's the interesting thing. If it is going to be Bishop.
Not as fast as Worthy. Nobody is.
No, but Bishop, I would think, is faster than Taylor Rapp. He's a different type of player.
Yeah. But boy, man, when you look at how the defense was broken down against the Ravens, and shocking to believe that it would happen again 2 weeks in a row, but they blitzed the Ravens more than any other team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, over 40% of the time they were out of their base. I want to say it was 40% of the time, more than 40% of the time, they were out of their base nickel. They were running all kinds of different looks. And it kind of goes again to speaks to Lamar not being able to truly process what was being thrown at him. Let's make him try to beat us. If he can beat us, then they've earned it. But we're not going to let Derrick Henry beat us. We'll throw everything at Lamar and see if he can beat us. And it worked. Now, Mahomes, different cat. I don't know you're going to be able to get away with it with Mahomes. I don't know they're going to be that aggressive against Mahomes. Hopefully you can affect Mahomes. I want to see him close on Mahomes because I feel like every time they play, they get to him, but they don't close. You got to close.
He's really good at that, though.
You got to close. Happy Hour is next on the Fan Rochester, and we do have time for your calls if you want to join us. That number is 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Yes, we set a bit of a standard yesterday. Well, we've got some more reaction to the first ever ban in sports bar history. We'll discuss that, and we'll also talk a little bit more about what we learned from Matt Perrine of the Syracuse Post-Standard as we get ready for the AFC Championship game, Bills and Chiefs, coming up Sunday night on CBS. We'll get to a round of shots as well. That's all on the way here, the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan.
sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Line moving for the AFC Championship. The Chiefs now favored by 2. Was at a 1.5 yesterday. Bills head coach Sean McDermott on his team being aggressive on fourth down.
It's you grow through the years, you learn things, you learn about your team that season. So all of them are a little bit different, but you continue to try and put your team in position to win, and that's what we do.
Bills and Chiefs, AFC Championship game, 2 p.m. for our pregame coverage this Sunday here on The Fan. Buffalo Sabres after dark tonight. The team in Vancouver, 10 p.m. for our coverage. Sabres coming off a loss yesterday in Seattle. The LA Dodgers keep spending money. Today, adding reliever Kirby Yates. Yates with the Rangers last season. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
If it's going to take us getting there by beating the Chiefs, and the Bills are going to say that's the way it should be. It will be sweeter, obviously, if you get it done, but it's a different Bills team.
I think this Bills team can win in a multitude of ways, and I think it's what makes them the most dangerous matchup for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mike Danger.
The majority of the country wants Buffalo to win this game. We have everybody on our side. This is a better opportunity than it was 4 years ago. This is it, man. This is Josh Allen playing the best football of his career. This is Sean McDermott doing the best coaching job of his career. This is when you go into Kansas City and you beat the Chiefs.
Gene Battaglia.
It's Chiefs week.
Yep.
It's here.
Yep.
This is what we asked for. Here it comes. I look at a team that is very well coached, and they know how to manage games. And they have the best coach in the game today. We're on to the Chiefs.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, welcome to Happy Hour. Gino, you mentioned in your sports update the Dodgers signed another star.
Yeah, another star. Yeah.
Help me out because I'm really trying to understand the mind of a baseball fan. I'm a baseball fan, but I'm not a baseball fan the way you're a baseball fan. And you get this news, you see the Dodgers.
Oh, by the way, the Hall of Fame announcement tonight. Baseball writer, so excited. Why are we not? A baseball writer, I hung up on him. No, we are not talking about it. We're talking Bills, Chiefs, but go on.
Pull up your pants, baseball writer. It's just the Hall of Fame announcement. I'm trying to understand. I know a lot of baseball fans will hear the news of the Dodgers signing another star and be like, ugh, baseball is screwed. This is terrible for the game. This is ridiculous. I thought we always kind of maintained, hey, you could be mad at baseball or the Dodgers for spending money, but like really any team can go out and spend the way the Mets have spent, the way the Dodgers are spending, but they don't do it because they're cheap or they don't do it because they don't have the TV revenue or is that what it comes down to?
That's what it comes down to. I mean, it's based on market size. Like we enjoy this in Western New York because pretty much we could say the salary cap isn't real, but it is a real guardrails are set up, okay, in the NFL, where in baseball, we're deferring this, deferring that.
It feels to me like the Premier League. It feels like that's the direction that it's going.
Yes.
That you're going to have the top 3 or 4 teams every single year, and then the smaller clubs that just don't have the payroll or the talent to compete are going to just be just keeping the lights on.
That's why if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates, we say this kind of cheeky, but like, when are you trading Paul Skeens? When are you trading O'Neal Cruz? Because, Danger, seriously, they don't have a plan to get their own TV network and improve their brand. I mean, not only do the Dodgers own the number 2 market in the country, no offense to the Angels, they're the afterthought there, they own the entire country overseas in Japan.
Right.
Somebody put out a tweet, I love this, talking about who's coming up next year from the Dodgers AAA affiliate. Japan, which that's what it feels like.
Yeah. So you are with, like, I brought it up to a group of, I'm in a thread of mostly Mets fans, a text thread of mostly Mets fans, And every day it's another complaint about baseball because the Dodgers signed this person or the Blue Jays signed this person. Baseball sucks. This is going to suck. And I'm thinking to myself, you're a Mets fan. Your owner gets it. He's spending money like there's no tomorrow. You're going to be a contender. Or you should be a contender given that you spent all the money that you spent on acquiring talent. So what are we complaining about here? I mean, if you're a Pirates fan, I get it. If you're a Reds fan, sure, I get it. But the Dodgers are making it impossible for everybody else to compete at that level. And it's becoming the Premier League. That's the conclusion?
Well, baseball does have a random element to it. Not as much as hockey, I believe, but that would be the hope, is that you are going to be a team in the National League and you can have a couple good pitching performances and maybe you can get another break here or there and knock out the Dodgers. But the Dodgers, I think you can pencil in already as back-to-back champions.
We welcome you into the Sports Bar. Thanks for joining us here during Happy Hour. Thanks for watching on the stream. Our YouTube channel is up at The Fan Rochester. You can like and subscribe, leave a comment there. We love engaging with you there. We love engaging with you on Twitch, where we're streaming as well at The Fan Rochester. And we sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app or on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. If you're just joining us, Matt Perino was great in the 3 o'clock hour. We'll talk some Bills and Chiefs here in a second. We also heard from Amerks head coach Mike Leone. And Michael F. Florio from NFL Network just got off the blower with him a few minutes ago to talk some Bills and Chiefs as well. We also had to address an incident that occurred in the Sports Bar, an unprecedented incident that happened yesterday right around this time, where we had to issue our first ever ban in the Sports Bar. Luke from Rochester has been banned, in case you missed it, for suggesting for saying that he couldn't wait for Joe Brady to leave the Buffalo Bills based on how the second half was called.
Yeah, so Luke, you're going to ruin it for everybody else, buddy. But these are the rules. We want interaction, but we need to have a standard here.
That's right. And, boy, have we heard about it from the regulars on X at The Fan Rochester. Matthew tweeting us, #FreeLuke. Just kidding. His calls make me want to punch a newborn in the face.
No, we don't want to do that.
We're not advocating for that, Matthew. Suburban Gorilla on a take that you had earlier, Gino. Does anyone want to tell Gene that all new phones are officially USB-C and only outdated iPhones use a different charger now?
Oh, that's good news. So I have to go buy a new iPhone then.
I think that's what he's trying to tell you.
Thank you, Suburban Gorilla.
Greg, one of our regulars, I love your your shopping cart take. My non-sports take is to crack down on left lane lingerers. Do not drive in the left lane unless you're passing. That seems like a universal complaint that everybody has. Also, Greg wanting to know, when do I have to hate listen to Binkley?
Okay. That's tomorrow, 4:25. Jay Binkley is going to come back in. Look, this goes all the way back to draft night, the day after, where we got an extra first-round pick, and this guy with bad footwork who drafted out of Texas Tech, and we were all pointing and laughing, and Binkley said the guy was going to be a superstar.
Jay, what was the general reaction to Chiefs fans a week ago tonight when they ended up trading up to the Bills to select Patrick Mahomes?
Thank you, Buffalo.
Every time we play that clip now, I just feel like, wow, listen to the youthful energy that guy has. What happened? He had so much potential.
You're talking about yourself, right? Not Binkley.
Both of us.
Both of us.
We
love Rochester.
A long time ago, man. Yeah. And, he called it then. Thank you, Buffalo. I mean, there was confidence in that pick. Mahomes sat the majority of his rookie season, and the NFL hasn't been the same since he got that start in his second season. He's been the best, and if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, as Ric Flair once said.
So the last time, I forget where you were, something on assignment, we had Binkley in. It was the lead up to Bills Chiefs the first time around. I mean, he got a little contentious. Like Binkley this time, it's not going to be like two old friends getting together on the bar stools and sitting around talking sports.
Yeah, I'm curious from where he sits and what he observes, what's different about this year's Bills team than years past? What about this team makes you nervous? I mentioned mine for the Chiefs just a few minutes ago. I don't think you have an answer for Xavier Worthy. I don't think anybody does. That's a fast dude. And if you find ways to get him involved, he could score. He could score. That's a concern for me going into this game. I imagine that the secondary for the Bills will be fine. I don't know how healthy Rapp is going to be, but if you have Cole Bishop back there, I think you're going to be okay. Benford, that's concerning, but assume he clears concussion protocol, you're probably all right there. And offensively, I just think like the Bills should be able to have their way just based on how they've played at various points of the season, including against this Chiefs team earlier this year.
Well, if you're wondering, oh my gosh, Christian Benford, what's going on? This happened on the onside kick play, and you can see him bang. Talk to our guy Tim, who's in the. Noticed that he doesn't look right. Somebody pointed that out. Him walking back to the locker room. But if we can kind of make light of it, the Bills have brought in an outside consultant here.
Oh yeah,
to kind of and there's all indications that Christian Bedford will be playing.
Is this the independent neuroscience?
Yes,
that they have hired for this week.
Hi everybody. Hi Dr. Nick.
Yeah, it should be okay for Sunday. Dr. Nick is on the case.
Hi everybody. Hi Dr. Nick.
So we'll have Binkley on tomorrow, 4:25. And, Gino, I should thank you. You're taking one for the team tonight going on the Winkler Show.
Oh, I love Bart.
I love Bart, too.
I love Bart. So Bart Winkler, and I wanted to get somebody on nationally that, we've got to get somebody with the big picture here. Because, yes, when we talk to the Chiefs, we'll learn more about the Chiefs, what they're thinking out there, but they're going to have a Chiefs bias. And, Bart doesn't have any bias anywhere.
Yeah.
So Bart Winkler, who you hear after a JR Sport Brief, actually after BetMGM tonight on our station, late nights, he will be joining us tomorrow as well.
And in return, you're taking one for the team.
Oh, no problem tonight.
You're going to be up tonight, be on Winkler's show, talking about this matchup with Bart. Late. Well, actually, you won't hear it on the Fan because we'll be in Sabres hockey. Oh.
What? Shame on you for bringing that up. Shame.
Sorry. Yeah, well, Luke, if you really want to bring your negative energy somewhere since you're banned, see if you can call into like a Sabres show and bring it there. I have no time or patience for it. And don't worry, we'll get the worst call in the history of the sports bar up and available for you wherever you get your podcasts here this afternoon.
Do other shows, other stations ban callers?
I believe that can happen from time to time. Yeah. I mean, it's all love. We appreciate it, but this isn't new in sports talk and what we do. It's not new, and you're the listener. We're trust us. We're doing this for you. We want to try and provide you with the best information and entertainment on a daily basis possible. And sometimes a caller goes rogue, or a caller will say something that doesn't add anything to what we're doing. It adds nothing to the presentation. Romy used to say, more of me and less of you is always a good thing, meaning more of me talking and less of the callers is always a good thing. And that's why he started to get away from the clones calling up and, hey, every time they get a vine, they would try to take it a direction where he would cut them off and be like, no, that's not what we're about. We're not doing that. And so the ban had to be instituted. Because on a Victory Monday, when you just beat the Ravens, a tough matchup. I can't wait for Joe Brady to be out of here. Get out of here with that. You're banned. It's the worst call we've ever taken. And we'll get that for you on the podcast here this afternoon.
Just because, what? You had 2 drives to begin the third quarter. By the way, it's the playoffs. All these teams are really good.
Yeah.
And everything gets magnified.
Joe Brady's going to be a head coach. We're going to be lucky if we have him again next year. We're going to be very fortunate to have him as an offensive coordinator.
Does he want to take the Saints or Jaguars, though?
Well,
some
dominoes are starting to fall, obviously, with Ben Johnson going to Chicago.
Well, and there was one guest we had. Do you remember this conversation? Ron Pitts. So Ron Pitts we had on one time. He used to be a play-by-play guy with Fox. Played for the Bills eons ago. And he was doing games with Mike Martz. And this was right at the beginning of the season. And he's talking about Martz getting feelers from NFL teams to come back in. I'm like, wait a second, now? No, this is for next year. And we're like, what? You guys don't understand. This is what happens in the NFL. The skids are greased. I'm like, really? when you heard Dan Campbell Monday talk about replacements for both coordinators, my antenna went up like, what? Aren't we kind of jumping the gun? He knew Ben Johnson a little later, and how many hours later is going to become the head coach? Now the reports, looks like the Jets have their guy.
I think Aaron Glenn isn't leaving New York without signing on the line, which is dotted. From the sound of it. Great.
Okay.
Mike McCarthy still out there interviewing with the Saints, apparently. So the carousel is now becoming a game of musical chairs. And can you get your guy if you're the Raiders, if you're the Cowboys, if you're the Saints?
Wait a second. I thought we had Deion Sanders going to Dallas. If you're a Cowboy fan and now the talk about Brian Schottenheimer being oh, my gosh. Cowboy fan, I feel so sorry for you.
It might be a better move from a football standpoint. Like, he might be a better coach. But just from a relevancy standpoint, it's a snoozer. I mean, come on. You get Coach Prime, who hasn't interviewed. He's only been approached about the job. He hasn't interviewed for the job.
So tomorrow, we mentioned Jay Binkley. We have Bart Winkler on. We have Mike Danger. I have to make a call after 5:30.
Oh.
Yes. I got the summons earlier. I'm like, do I want to do this? No, I was here yesterday.
Oh, boy.
My number is high enough. What am I talking about jury duty?
Oh, boy.
And apparently, hey, I'm on the sports bar. I'm delivering sports content to Bills fans.
You should use that excuse. You're a media personality. You're in the media.
It doesn't work.
Oh, come on.
It doesn't work.
Gene, do to them what you did to Brian at St. John Fisher all those years ago. Give him the stiff arm. Give the Monroe County judge a stiff arm and say, hey, you know who I am? I'm Gene Battaglia. I got more important things to do than sit at jury duty all day. Not happening, pal. No?
My number is high. So when I saw that, and you know the rules.
You got to call after 5:30?
After 5:30.
Okay.
So I haven't even come up with a plan B. So I'm hoping released is what I want to hear. Call back the next day, I will accept. Not really good is call back afternoon. That could happen.
Okay.
But what if I have to report?
We'll leave you a little suspense here. Yeah. We'll take a break. We got to get to a round of shots next. So tease what we got coming up here in shots. You can call your jury duty, and then we'll pay that off coming out of the break.
All right. So, is the NFL fixed? Skip Bayless seems to think so. A college football game last night we didn't talk too much about, but we'll talk about the aftermath of that. NHL and did the Philadelphia mayor jinx the Eagles?
I'm not saying this is take of the year worthy, but it's some pretty ridiculous audio.
This is the best audio from a mayor since the mayor of New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
LaToya Cantrell. Do you remember her?
Yes, I do. She was not about COVID.
Nope.
COVID football. No. She was not about any of that. Yeah. She was following those rules, boy. We'll get to a round of shots next, and we'll see if Gene will be here tomorrow, if he'll be doing his public duty there, serving jury duty. We'll get the last call as well at 866-4326. We know you're calling in, 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Update.
Line moving for the AFC Championship game. It's now Chiefs favored by 2. Head coach Sean McDermott wants to keep everything normal this week.
I think at the end of the day, it's normal routine, normal approach. Make sure we're prepared during the week to do our jobs and do them at a high level.
Bills and Chiefs, 2 p.m. for our pregame coverage this Sunday here on The Fan. Rochester. The New England Patriots have hired Josh McDaniels as their new offensive coordinator. He's actually not new in New England, though. This will be the 3rd time he's been named as the OC for the Patriots. The Buffalo Sabres playing out west tonight once again, taking on Vancouver. 10 o'clock for our coverage tonight. Buffalo coming off a loss to Seattle. The LA Dodgers keep spending money. Today, the Dodgers adding reliever Kirby Yates. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Can I get a verdict? See what I did there?
I am here in the sports bar tomorrow.
Oh, yes. That is great news.
But my number, I'm still not off the hook, so I have to call the same time tomorrow to find out about Thursday.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes, but I think we kind of know. You skirt jury duty for another day. If it's a good feeling, call it again tomorrow, and we'll see.
What happens if you don't show up? Do they come after you?
You know what? I'm not really sure. I think the one time I was sequestered for jury duty, there's been more than one time, but the one time where I did get out of it was during my honeymoon. Like the time window was at a time when I was going to be out of the country on my honeymoon, and I got off. I didn't have to call. I didn't have to do anything. I really don't know what happens. The only other time I think I've gotten the thing in the mail is I've called it, and like you today. I hope I don't have to go. Yes, I don't have to go. I've never done it, so I'm kind of it's not an experience I have.
It was a number that was high, so I'm like, you could defer this, but I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to be okay if I have this high number.
All right, very good.
So
let's get to a round of shots.
Can we just agree, Danger, the NFL is not rigged?
It's so lazy. It's such a horrible take.
No one is fixing any games, but don't tell this to Skip Bayless. Now, it's hard to say if he's being real or if he's being cheeky here. Bayless says that Josh Allen has no shot this week in Kansas City taking on 60. That's 53 Chiefs and 7 on-field officials.
Oh, brother.
Says Bayless, quote, the memo will go out just as it did last week. Make sure Taylor Swift makes it to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. By the way, Bayless did not address the lawsuit. Hasn't done it yet, in which he was named in the allegation that he offered a hairstylist employed by Fox $1.5 million for her services that would, according to the lawsuit, change her life.
I brought this up earlier, and Bayless isn't doing anything to stop this. But like the whole narrative that the NFL is in bed or scripted and in bed with the Chiefs. It's lazy. It's nauseating. It drives me crazy. It's not even accurate, by the way. In the past 2 years, Chiefs opponents have been flagged 48 times in the fourth quarter and overtime of one-score games. Kansas City's opponents have been flagged 47 times in those same instances. So the refs don't favor the Chiefs. I get that we're all fatigued. I get that we don't want to see them win, and that when a call goes their way, it makes us upset. Mahomes flopping was disgusting, but Allen goes for those calls every chance he can get.
By the way, there was no flag on the Mahomes.
No,
there wasn't.
They didn't call it. No.
So, like, by rule, like the flop attempt, you can't call embellishment. Now, Jeremy White and others have pointed this out. Like, should we bring embellishment to the NFL?
No, please, God, no. And if you're gonna flop the way he flopped, like. You remember the touchdown run Josh Allen had last year against the Steelers in the playoffs?
Oh, yeah.
Where he kind of pulled up a little bit like he was going to slide, and it forced the defense to freeze just for a half a second.
Nothing wrong, nothing illegal about that.
Nothing illegal about that. It's the same thing that he was doing, Mahomes was doing, kind of letting up there as he goes to the sideline, almost as if to say, I dare you to push me. And then, of course, he gets tapped, and he does his flop. That's just playing the officiating crew. That's working to your advantage, and Allen does it too. Mahomes might be a little bit better at it. But the Chiefs, if they're better at anything, it's not that they're in bed with the officials or that they get those penalties. They take advantage of the penalties. And at this stage of the season, and we saw this against the Ravens, everything is magnified. Every turnover means more. Every holding call means more. Yes, they botched the Deion Dawkins holding call. That was not a hold. They botched it. And it probably cost the Bills points. But nobody's talking about it because the Bills made enough plays through the course of the game to win the game. That's going to happen in pretty much every NFL game. So let's just stop. Let's just stop with the refs are in bed with the Chiefs. And there's so much loser energy around it. It drives me nuts.
College football has changed. Many would say for the better following the Ohio State win over Notre Dame. And if you didn't watch it last night, it really wasn't close. The final AP poll came out today. For the first time, the Big Ten has 3 of the top 5 teams in the final poll. Syracuse finishing the season at number 20. Colorado checking in at number 25.
All right, Gino. Let me put your feet to the fire a little bit here because I remember when the college football playoff was first announced, you and a lot of traditionalists, this is going to be bad. I'm not excited. This isn't great. This is a mess. There's been a lot of changes since that was announced to the way the college game is being played. And I hear a lot of people complaining about it not being right, that these guys have too many years of eligibility. The transfer portal is screwing everything up. NIL makes it impossible. You're not going to see, you're going to see the same teams every year because.
So that was the part I got wrong. What is actually done is level the playing field. I think we all can kind of say, all right, this is actually kind of good. I think it's a little drawn out though. You shouldn't be playing college football on Martin Luther King Day. I'm sorry.
Has it leveled the playing field, or will the schools with the biggest alumni and the biggest collectives actually be the schools?
No danger. They've changed the rules here. Like there is like kind of a quasi cap now.
Who's policing that?
Well, yeah, that.
So nobody's really policing it. They're saying that there are rules, but we don't really know. And kids are going to transfer to where there's more money available to them.
Well, okay. So before it was, hey, you want the quickest path to the NFL? Come play in the SEC.
Yep.
Nobody's talking about the reason why Notre Dame kind of popped up so quick. Oh, it's Marcus Freeman. No, it's because they had the money and they spent it.
That's right. They didn't have as many 5-star recruits as Ohio State did. I mean, they had 5. Ohio State looks like a pro football team. They look good.
But it's something that it's just, okay, I don't like change. This was change. And then in years past, Ohio State would have been an afterthought. Shame on you for losing to Michigan.
Right.
But that was always a quasi-playoff game to begin with. It's not now. You can afford to lose 2 games and get into the postseason.
Well, I enjoyed it. I thought every round was fun. Even the first round where there were blowouts and they were one-sided. I wouldn't be shocked if they find a way to add 4 more teams and just make it 1 through 16. No buys. 1 through 16, no buys.
No, the adjustment I would make is the top 4 teams winning. That seemed a little wrong. The teams that got the buys this year.
Right. So no buys. So
no. I'm saying like the automatic bids.
Oh, they got the buys wrong. The teams that got the buys weren't the right teams. I enjoyed it, and I wish last night would have been a little bit more entertaining. It wasn't a bad game, but it felt like it was out of hand.
It was. I had high hopes after that Notre Dame first drive. I'm like, wow,
everybody did.
This is the way to go. And then 2 touchdowns in 6 minutes.
It's almost like they knew, like, we got to keep that offense on the sideline because we're not going to be able to stop them tonight. They're good.
Yeah, be honest, Danger. When was the last time you watched C-SPAN?
C-SPAN?
No. Anyone?
That's the channel that, like, it's just a camera on the Congress. And the House and the whole
So, yesterday, big day, right? It was their Super Bowl covering the inauguration.
Sure.
So what did C-SPAN do? And this kind of fits in with the theme of our show today. They did the laziest thing you could do in television. Let's go to the phones on Inauguration Day. No, they did not get Baba Booey, but someone did call in to say how wrong it was for Alabama being left out of the college football playoff.
Oh, okay. So they took that call on the air. Was that person banned from C-SPAN? They should have banned that person from C-SPAN.
No, just the host was like, okay, thank you very much. And we go to
2 instances yesterday funny that you mentioned C-SPAN, and this reminded me of something I saw during the inauguration ceremony yesterday. 2 instances yesterday, one at the inauguration, one at the college football playoff, where the first thought that crossed my mind is, you have one job. You have one job. At the inauguration, whoever was in charge of audio, poor Carrie Underwood is ready to belt out "God Bless America" to an instrumental track behind her, and there's this long, awkward pause, silence, where she's waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. I'm serious. It was a good 60 to 90 seconds of just silence, waiting for the person to hit the track, the instrumental, so she could belt out "God Bless America." She ends up doing it a cappella, and she did a great job because she's got an amazing voice, obviously. But all I could think to myself was, you had one job. Get the audio right. And then you've all seen it by now from last night's celebration after the game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. The golf cart driver who drove the golf cart directly into the wall.
Drove into the wall. Okay, that's embarrassing. Well, let me just kind of back up here. And by the way, Ryan Day is in the passenger seat. So this isn't like you're driving some nobody.
You have one job.
She drives into the wall, but by doing so, the front tire, one of them, is off.
Yeah.
So the cart is disabled.
It's done. You have one job. I mean, it was like the scene from Austin Powers. I was waiting for it to go backward and forward and backward and forward. Oh, we can't turn around in this hallway. She couldn't even turn it around at all. It was done. Just crashed it right into the wall with Ryan Day and a couple of players. I'm like, come on. One job. One job. Congratulations to the Buckeyes.
All time, the Seattle Kraken are 7-1 against the Sabres. Second time this season, Seattle's hung 6 goals against Buffalo in a win. Do we need to say anything else? No. The Sabres play in Vancouver, 10 o'clock Eastern tonight. If you are tuning in, you, my friend, are a Sabre fan.
Next.
Or a masochist. Finally, if you're an Eagles fan, how do you feel about this? The mayor of Philadelphia, Sherelle Parker, here she is trying to fire up her constituents.
Let me hear you all say E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles!
No.
Let's go, Birds! Let me hear you all say E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
Did she do it twice?
No. She only did it once. So I don't know
Dandelion looped that?
Looped it. That's right. Eagles. E-L-G-S-E-S. Now, if you're thinking, my gosh, this means the Eagles are doomed. Not exactly. Now, with the weather event they had in Philadelphia, they called a press conference telling everybody, okay, we have snow coming. We're here. We're going to make you safe. This press conference was on Sunday morning before the Philly-Ram playoff game. It wasn't until after the game that people online began to say, wait, what did she just say?
I am stunned. The mayor of Philadelphia. E-L-G-S-E-S.
Let's go, Birds.
Go, Birds.
Let me hear you all say E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
Yeah, she botched that really badly. And you can hear, like, the people who were trying to follow along, they didn't know where to go with it. Like, she didn't know how to spell Eagles.
I mean, if you spelled angels like angles, maybe I could understand. Yeah, maybe I could understand that. But E-L-G-S-E-S? How do you even say the L?
I need to try and be a little bit more forgiving. And people, like she's got a hard job. She's the mayor of Philadelphia. She's probably got a lot on her mind. Spelling Eagles might not be something that just comes to her off the top of her mind. Or maybe she should be in the category that we were just talking about. You had one job. Spell Eagles like you've been to a game before. And I'm sure she has.
And if you haven't, if you just said, let's go Birds, people would be fine with that.
Go Birds would have been fine. E-L-G-S-E-S. Now, there's another part of me that's wondering, was she pre-gaming? What was she doing? Was she in the parking lot? Was she doing a little tailgate? Because now you've got an excuse. Now you've got an excuse. Who amongst us hasn't? I could say, all right, maybe she was hitting something before she had her big press conference there that would have affected her ability to spell Eagles.
Oh, can we have a quick meeting here? Because Binkley's going to come in tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've done this in the past. I'm not in favor of the hokey radio bit. We're going to send you.
No, we're not doing that.
No.
We're not doing that.
No.
But by the way, didn't we do it once already where we sent him some beer? He's a big beer guy, so we wanted to send him some 3 heads and let him enjoy that, and we were able to do that. But we're not doing that again this year. No.
Good.
And honestly, like, I like what Gary said when he was on with us yesterday. And I think he discovered something kind of accidentally about this Bills team. And what maybe it is that feels different about this team is that they have given off the impression that they are no longer afraid of losing, afraid of failure. Because they've been through it. They've seen it. They know what it feels like. They're not afraid of it anymore. They can stare it down. You could look at the Chiefs and say, yeah, you might be the best team ever. So what? What do we have to lose? Nothing. We're going to go in there. We're going to beat you. Kind of dig it. I kind of like that Nate discovered that with us yesterday on the Sports Bar. And if you missed that conversation, or any of today's conversations, Michael F. Florio, Michael Leone, Emmerich's head coach, or Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard, find them all wherever you get your shows. Search out the Sports Bar in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Find us on YouTube, our channel, The Fan Rochester. We stream every afternoon on Twitch at The Fan Rochester, and we're always on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Bart Winkler tomorrow from the Infinity Sports Network at 3:25, and the aforementioned Jay Binkley from 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, stopping by at 4:25 tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock. More on The Fan. JR Sport Brief next.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. Buffalo Sabres are in action.